Oh, now it's working just fine. Oh, it's incredible. Amazing. Technology. Sorry for the delay, gentlemen. April's downstairs having dinner with Kristen. I stuck something amazing. Stuck some dinner in my face really quick. Come on. So we're looking at probably 5:05.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Good. You can chat.
Hi, Franz.
Yeah,
How are
hi,
you?
I'm back.
We're going to be
I'm
late
fine.
starting. Don't worry. We're going to be
Good.
late starting.
Not a problem for me.
We are live on Facebook. I am now starting the ever so popular, exciting
So no cussing on the show.
sharing process. Because, you know, oh crap. Something. Hold on. Hi, buddy. Come on, buddy. You're okay. Oh, goodness. Sorts of late today. Woo-hoo-hoo. April's in. Down.
Are we off for Easter?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
I'll make sure.
Yeah, I actually gave it half a thought to not doing it tonight. It is Palm Sunday, but page. Oh, I did it twice. That's stupid. Oh, goodness. I'm doing things twice. Because I'm rushing. Sorry, our Revolution, Pennsylvania. Tapped you twice. Whoops. Goodness. Okay. It'd be time to hit up somebody for a new iPad soon. Gout. Ain't holding up too good. All right, here we go. Groups. Getting there. Yeah. Oh, for goodness sake. Unbelievable. My goodness, whatever happens, just something These just don't work. I don't want anything. I want the really, really simple stuff to stop working.
You got your wish.
Yeah, sure did. God almighty. Stuff I do every damn week. Today, it's got to be a fight.
I'm gonna go AFK for a minute and then I'm gonna come back.
What that mean? What does that mean? Okay, let's kick this. Let's kick the tires and light the fires here. Let's see. As I say, we're late enough.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know
And young enough to do.
well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
But it's Kennedy, 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 for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you want a man with spirit who is not afraid to fight?
A man whose record shows that he will fight for what is right.
A loyal man who'll bring the job a fresh new point of view. Well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
Cause it's Kennedy, 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 for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
And do you deny to any man the right he's guaranteed to be elected president, no matter what his creed?
It's promised in the Bill of Rights to which we must be true.
So it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
And it's Kennedy, 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 for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair?
We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare, you cast your vote for Kennedy and a change that's overdue. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you.
Yes, it's Kennedy, 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 for me.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Late. My fault. Welcome late. From my humble second bedroom here in the Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, part of these United States, North American continent, Western Hemisphere, on this planet Earth, the only one we have, third rock from the sun in the Terran solar system, part of the Milky Way galaxy. This is the Kennedy Effect live for this Palm Sunday, April 2nd, 2023. Thank you so much for being with us and being patient while I actually tried to stick a little dinner in my face, and it took a little longer than I thought. And then, of course, when I thought I left myself enough time, we had technical issues, of course, because of course, right? Because of course, the things that you do every single week that work flawlessly, of course, when you need them to, because you're on a little bit of a time crunch, you think you can squeeze in a dinner. This one thing should literally take 2 minutes, 30 seconds or something like that. And to be honest with you, in radio, that's sometimes how tight you schedule things. This should be 37 seconds. This should be 14, whatever you do. Sometimes schedule it down that far. Ads on regular terrestrial radio are sold in 15-second increments, right? On television, they're sold in 15-second increments. So, and then of course, none of that worked. So here we are, a little bit late, but we're here. 5:11 Eastern Time, Eastern Daylight Time, here in the humble Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in the Saucon Valley. So for those of you who tuned in, thank you for being patient with us. We are here now. We are here live. We missed you 2 weeks ago. We will miss you again next week. So for our communities of faith out there, and not just the Christian community, I do find it odd sometimes the way that our holidays of faith are so deeply sometimes segmented. I think sometimes overly segmented. Palm Sunday, of course, is a deeply Christian holiday, but it also or observance holiday, I guess. But I don't think that means that other faiths who don't who might not see it as to the same level of significance as Christians don't still find it an important day, or don't still find it a day of reflection or importance. I tend to think that so many of the religious observance days are important days to many, and I think the Easter Passover time of year it's an important time for many people, not just Christians in the Jewish community. I think any deeply time of deep faith, any time of deep religious reflection is, or as George mentions, a holy day of obligation it's important to all faiths. I think it's important to all faiths. I mean, when my Muslim brothers and sisters celebrate an important holiday, it forces reflection in my own faith. I believe that these different faiths can and should complement each other, that they can and should inform each other. And I hope that they do for you, they do for me. And I don't think I'm unique in that, to be honest. When I see my Jewish friends celebrating a holiday, it forces an important time of faith in their calendar. It forces a reflection and an examination of faith in my own day. If my Sikh or Hindu friends are celebrating an important milestone day in their religious calendar, it does affect me, and I would hope, and I believe that it does, by the way, that the Christian calendar affects folks of other faiths as well. I hope so. I believe that these, it was Pope Francis that referred to the Jewish faith as our senior brothers, as the Christian faith came out of the Jewish faith. So no matter what faith you are, and to be quite honest, if you're a person of no faith, of no religious background or faith, I still wish you a peaceful, blessed, honored, cherished, humble, family-filled, happy beginning of spring, Easter, Passover, and anything else that I might be forgetting time of year. It is a reflective time of year. It is a time of year of deep faith. It is also a time of spring, of renewal, of rebirth. And I wish you all nothing but the best of everything that this time of year brings us every single year, or at least what should bring us every single year. So we are here now. The Queen herself, April Riddick, is downstairs actually having some dinner with Kristen. And that's what I was doing, was stuffing some dinner in my face. And I will hope to stuff a little more dinner in my face after the show is done, because it was darn good. And I didn't get nearly enough of it. So I'll be doing that a little bit after we sign off. But that said, that is a little bit why we started late. So April will be up here as promised and as promoted in the show announcements and so on. She will be here a bit on in the program when she's done downstairs. So that said, let's get through the business end of the program. It is 5:16 Eastern Daylight Time as we enter this high holy time of the year and this springtime of year, this time of renewal and rebirth. Wherever you might be watching across the Facebook universe, stay right there and enjoy it. We've shared the program to over 100 places yet again this week, and to every single page, group, public, private group, individual, every single person who takes in our program, allows our program to be part of your little sliver of the Facebook universe. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you again, because we could not do it without you. Stay right where you are. Continue to watch and listen. I will do my very best to keep up with your comments if they should happen to come into any of the groups or pages from which we are sharing. However, if you would like to come over to our home group Facebook page, it's right there on the screen. There I do that thing again where I'm pointing to the square, which is probably not the same square that you're looking at. That other side of information is our home group Facebook page. It is our home group Facebook page for all things surrounding the Kennedy effect. Our group, obviously, like all things on Facebook, it's up and running and accessible, and you can get to it, share from it, post things on it 24/7. We're always there. It's our home group for this program. So you can come over and share your thoughts, questions, comments, all that fun stuff at our home group Facebook page, that other side of information. Or again, feel free to stay exactly where you are, and I will do my absolute best to keep up with your questions, comments, etc., from wherever it is that you might be watching. And again, to every single group, page, private group, public group, individual that shares this program and spreads the word about our humble effort here and our humble program here, we are very, very grateful to you. We could not do it without you. Please continue to share our program everywhere that you think it is a good fit. And you know what? Share it some places where you think it might not be a good fit. Very excited, actually. We are now part of we share the program to two groups that are titled, I'm going to forget the exact names of them, but the basis of the groups is to bring Republicans and Democrats back together. I'm very proud to be part of these two groups, because that needs to happen. That very much needs to happen. There was a time in this country where Republicans and Democrats agreed on where we all needed to end up. We just disagreed on how to get there. We all agreed where we wanted to go and where we needed to end up. We just disagreed on what path to take. How did we want to reach that goal? And we need to get back to that. We need to talk to each other, and we need to get back to that. So I'm proud to be part of those two groups. So even though I am a very admittedly and very highly partisan individual, I think the Democratic Party is the only functioning political party left in the country. I think the policies that we espouse, that we fight for, that we stand for, are the correct policies. But I also understand that other people feel differently. And that's exactly why we need to talk to each other. So I'm very proud to be part of those two groups. So please continue to share the program wherever you think it is appropriate. And like I said, even some places where you think it might not be. Hot101.net, our name is our web address. There is no internet connected device on this planet where you cannot hear us, and you should be. One of the founders, one of the originators of global internet radio, and one of the owners of it is downstairs having dinner with my much better half, and that's April Riddick, and she'll be coming up here whenever she feels like it, because she's the boss. She gets to do whatever she wants. There's nowhere that you can't hear us. There's nowhere that you should not be listening to us. 24/7, you can always listen to hot101.net. Our name is our web address. Hot101.net takes you to our main website. You can listen on your desktop, your laptop, your tablet, your phone, which you don't have to use the website either. You can use the apps. You can go to the Apple App Store for your Apple devices, the Google Play Store for your Android devices, and the TuneIn radio app for all other types of devices. Go to the search bar, type in hot101.net. You can Bluetooth it to your Bluetooth speakers, headphones, earbuds. You can Bluetooth it through the speakers in the car, or whatever it is that you might drive during the day. If you drive a delivery van, Bluetooth it through that. And of course, smart speakers as well. You can tell Alexa to play hot101.net and the TCP Media Group from Lancaster, PA. We continue to be proud to be members of these three families: the Kennedy Effect, hot101.net, and TCP. So let's get to a bit of a week in review, I guess. We have no, when I say we have no scheduled guests, April is the show wouldn't exist without her. She's more than a guest. She is part of the program's family. We don't make program decisions without her. She's regularly, he tried to say, in production meetings, when we decide to try to buy new equipment, or we investigate software, when we test things, April's always right there. So although she's a guest of sorts, insofar as that she's going to step upstairs and be here with us in the studio, not a guest in the traditional sense. She's a member of the family, really. So we have no scheduled guests in the traditional sense that we schedule guests. So we're just going to kind of do a bit of a week in review, a bit of a look ahead, and kind of discuss the things around what's been happening this last week, because we have to be honest with ourselves that it has been a historical past week. Let me take a quick comment that came up. My friend, and I say that, I don't say that lightly. I say that with all humility and with all seriousness. Robert Smith, a former guest on this program, the Republican Party, the party of Lincoln, is still alive and well. It is alive and well. It's called the Democratic Party. It is. Principles of Lincoln are still alive and well. They don't reside in the Republican Party, but the principles are alive and well. You are correct. I suspect you won't enjoy that comment, but it is a fact. But we as a people, for all of our agreements and disagreements, for the different policy positions that we believe in and that we don't believe in, that we might agree on or that we don't agree on, we cannot look at this past week and the indictment of a former occupant of the White House. We cannot say to ourselves that this is not historic, because it is historic. It just never happened before. In the 240 plus year existence of this constitutional republic, It's never happened. And there's not a lot of things that you can say that about. That this thing never, ever happened before. So this is a historic thing. And I don't necessarily cheer it. I wasn't, banging pots and pans the way we were celebrating healthcare workers during the pandemic. I wasn't lighting off fireworks the way folks do when their favorite sports club wins a championship. I wasn't, standing on the sides of the streets throwing confetti as we would during a parade. I didn't go out for a celebratory pint because it's sad in many ways. It is not purely sad. It is not exclusively sad, but it's sad in many ways that a former occupant of the White House has been indicted on a 30-plus count criminal indictment. Now, here's the sort of the I told you so sort of part of it. When The Apprentice was a big, big show, and I watched it too, and I enjoyed it. It was entertaining. And when Trump became a true national name, dare I say international name, I was living in the New York market, not in New York City proper in New Jersey, but in the New York sphere of New Jersey. Everything in that part of Jersey was New York. It was, it was the New York suburbs. Let's just be blunt about it. George knows exactly what I'm talking about. We all knew the man was a fake. We all knew he was a blowhard. We all knew it was that everything that came out of his mouth was always over exaggerated, that it was a clown show, that he had declared bankruptcy. I don't even know how many times. The man actually declared bankruptcy on a casino, a building where people walk in and voluntarily hand money over to you. We knew all this. New Yorkers knew all this. New Jerseyans knew all this. So to have him indicted to pay off a woman to hide an affair, and the fact that Stormy Daniels is an adult film star is irrelevant, to be honest. She could have been a Midwestern housewife. She could have been a soccer mom. It's kind of irrelevant, really. It adds a salaciousness to it, but it's not relevant. It doesn't so much matter. She could have been a wealthy heiress who lived in Trump Tower, a floor below his office. Or she could have been a soccer mom that was a tourist in New York City he saw on a street and got enamored with. The fact that she's an adult film star only adds a salaciousness to it. It's kind of irrelevant. But the fact that he paid her off to keep her quiet, to hide an affair, so close to an election, a national presidential election, paid her off, which clearly indicates that he thought the news of this affair was going to affect him and or affect the election, where we know now from people who worked on his campaign that they had gotten to a point that late in the campaign where they were starting to think, holy crap, we might actually win. Because it's also been well documented that early on, nobody thought that they were even going to win. There's actually been people within the 2016 Trump campaign that said he didn't want to win. He'd made his money. And so they paid off Stormy Daniels to keep this quiet. And now the Manhattan DA is looking into, of course, that they paid off someone else. But it doesn't stop there. There are national campaign finance violations that happened here. We tend to look at the paying off of a porn star as the end of the story. Again, because there's sex involved and it's a porn star and it's salacious and it's titillating and it's all of these sort of soap opera-y, Jerry Springer kind of things. There's wealth and power and elections and all. These were violations of national campaign finance. This was the silencing and trying to hide facts that would have affected the outcome of a presidential election. And at the end of the day, that's what this comes down to. But there's so much to this story that should bother people beyond just the actual using campaign money to pay this woman off. Because goodness knows Trump never uses his own money for anything. That this is how far we're willing to go to win an election. That power is this thing that is so desperate for us to seek and to hold on to and to attain, and not for the sake of the good of anyone other than themselves and the wealth that comes from it. And to destroy the lives of two women who actually stood up to say something against it. The lawyers who all made millions from it. But what I think the disturbing things that the things that should frighten people. Well, I think the other thing is that it took 6 years for this to get just this far. The trial itself could be another 2 years before it's settled. And to be honest, this is the judicial system at work. If Mr. Trump is innocent, he will have his day in court. He will be able to present his case. And if the prosecution fails to make their case, he will walk. He will be found not guilty. And let's remember, we don't find people innocent. We find them not guilty. Some will think it's semantical. Fair, okay. If you choose to consider that a semantical argument, but those are the legal definitions. You are found not guilty. You are not found innocent. You are found not guilty. So he'll have his day in court, which I find, to be honest, why I find it. Look, I have not found any of the Republican reactions this week shocking. Nothing that has come out this week has been shocking to me. The fact that they are, that some in the former party, known as the Republican Party, have, espoused the idea that, a single Jewish billionaire is bankrolling the Manhattan DA and that it's time to riot in the streets and take up arms. And, Senator Lindsey Graham yesterday tweeting that Trump should break some windows on his way to the federal courthouse, because God knows that's all Black Lives Matter protesters ever did, was just smash windows in storefronts. God knows. So their reactions this week have not been shocking in the least. But what should be frightening is that that's the first reactions. The immediate reaction is to go toward, this is a Jewish cabal, and the only way we can react is violently. And if there is a third reaction, it is to ignore and break more laws. Governor DeSantis has stated that he will fight extradition on Trump's behalf, an act which is blatantly unconstitutional, as the man prepares to run for president, in which case, should he win, would have to place his hand on a Christian Bible and swear to uphold the Constitution. Laws mean nothing to these people. Nothing. They mean absolutely nothing. Fame, power, money, notoriety, distraction, anger, dissent. That's grievance. This isn't governing. So these are the things. The fact that Trump was indicted is historical. It absolutely is historical. There are reassuring aspects to it. The judicial system, the legal system is working as it should. There are sad aspects to it. That in the first time in our history, an occupant of the White House has been indicted on criminal charges. And then there are sad-er aspects to it. That the former political party that he controls and represents is ready to go to war over it. They have every right in the world to disagree. They have every right in the world to be angry. But that the first reactions are suit up, arm up, fight, 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 should be a concern to every rational human being that lives in this country. That the 30% or so of the country that is irrational at this point seems to be the ones that are the loudest and that are, quite frankly, controlling everything. And meanwhile, as I say on this program every single week, Robert, as we tear ourselves apart over the perfectly legal and normal functionality of the judicial system, the billionaires sit back and continue to collect and continue to strip the rest of us of everything we have. So there's 1,000 different things that we could talk about this indictment this week. But I would ask you to think about some of the more frightening aspects that have come from this. Let's remember that some of these very same self-identified Republicans who have called this a banana republic, travesty of justice, Soros-backed DA. And by the way, if the Manhattan DA were a white man, I have a very good feeling the reactions would be slightly less radical. The fact that he is a gentleman of color certainly has fed the hysteria from the right. But this reaction has just been so over the top. So many of the people making these reactions were the same ones that wanted to jail Bill Clinton for oral sex and lying about it. And I didn't vote for President Clinton in his second term either, by the way. But they're the same voices, some of, The same voices that wanted to jail a president over that. So let's keep that in mind as well. It's not just about using campaign money to pay off a porn star. It's so much more than that. It's about rigging an election. It's about tamping down a story that could have changed the outcome of a presidential election. If Trump doesn't enter the White House, how do we that $8 trillion tax cut, and that's really what, in real dollars, that's what the 2017 Trump, McConnell, Paul Ryan tax cut is going to end up costing $8.4 trillion. That tax cut never takes place. It just doesn't. It doesn't take place. And I could go through a litany of other things. The constant berating of NATO and our European allies, the response to the pandemic, so many other things. It changes history. The same way that we could talk about how history would be different if Lyndon Johnson had run for a second term, if President Carter had won a second term, if Teddy Kennedy had beaten President Carter for the Democratic nomination and then beaten the eventual President Reagan. There's a lot of what ifs in history. That money was used to secure and to tamp down and hide a story that could have changed the outcome of a presidential election. At the same time that dirt was coming out about Secretary Clinton from no source less than the FBI director. So the story is not just giving money to an adult film star to keep her quiet. It's about why it was done. And then the story from this past week is not just the indictment, but the absolute seditious and violent and fascistic, over-the-top reactions that have come from it. That's the story. The payment alone is not the story. The indictment alone, beyond the historical context, is not the story. Why was the payment made? That's the story. How would history had been different if it didn't happen? That's a story. And the over-the-top, seditious, warlike, civil war-like, violent reactions to this indictment, the threats of hauling the Manhattan DA before Congress, a jurisdiction Congress simply doesn't have. And oh, by the way, even if Jim Jordan was to subpoena the Manhattan DA, why on earth would he ever pay attention to a subpoena? Jim Jordan hasn't paid attention to a subpoena in the last 6 years. Funny, Republicans, when you ignore subpoenas, you make it okay for everybody else to do the same damn thing. So even if they subpoena him, he could ignore it. That's all they've been doing. And two wrongs don't make a right. I'm not here to tell you they do. But it certainly gives you space. Gives you space to ignore it. How many high-profile, high-office elected Republicans ignored subpoenas in the last 2 years? So that, I think, is the story. The threats against District Attorney Bragg should be troubling to a lot of us. All of us, really. It should be troubling to all of us. They're clearly not troubling to all of us because, roughly 30% of the population thinks it's a pretty damn good idea. But they should be troubling to all of us. They really, really should be. And by the way, you can think DA Bragg did the wrong thing. You could support the ex-president all you wish. You might think these charges are without bounds or out of bounds or without merit. I think I mixed up my metaphors. But to think that District Attorney Bragg should be hauled before Congress in some sort of inquisition, or that the only way to solve this is to kill the district attorney and declare some form of civil war, should bother a lot of folks. Should bother all of us. Again, at the risk of sounding repetitive, it should bother all Americans. But clearly it doesn't. And let's think about the Republicans who've gone out and took this indictment and raised tens of millions of dollars off of it. And the Supreme Court, of course, made it legal to keep all that money. So the ex-president goes out and raises, I didn't even see the final totals. It was, after the first couple of days, it was 10 or $12 million of campaign money. If he never spends that money, he gets to keep it. The Republican Supreme Court made that type of bribery, he tried to say, legal. He's only spent, at best accounting, about $50 million of the over $500 million he's raised into his political PAC since he left office. He gets to keep it if he doesn't spend it. But the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, the Boberts of the world, the Paul Gosars of the world, the Jim Jordans of the world, they've all raised money off of this as well. And if they don't spend it, they keep it. That should bother people. They've raised money off the fact that the judicial system actually worked. We have a lot of judicial systems in this country. We have a lot of layers of the legal system in this country, despite the faith that our guest from a few weeks ago, John Vivian, has in the system when he said, I don't think there are different judicial systems. I disagree. There are. There's a different system for rich people. There's a different system for sitting elected officials. There's a different system for the 17-year-old black kid who has a 32nd of an ounce of pot in his pocket. Sure as hell is a different judicial system for people like Sandra Bland. So the fact that the system's actually worked, and then you have the real fascistic end of the right wing raising money off of this, money that they may never spend. Maybe they will spend it. Maybe they will. On other candidates, on ads, on whatever it is that they choose to spend it on. Or maybe they won't. They'll keep it in their pockets. That should bother people. This thing goes in so many different ways that we're not examining and not talking about. And if you're hearing the barking, that's Daisy the dog. No idea what she's barking at. I don't know. She gets really exercised sometimes. Robert says that I'm not arming up to fight for Trump. Gee whiz, I certainly hope not. Robert's a much better man than that. He would never, I don't think he would ever do that. Despite the many, 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 many disagreements on policies and issues that Robert and I have, he's one of the best men I know. Trust him with my life. Trust him implicitly. We just simply disagree on policy and issues. Doesn't make him a bad man. We just disagree on things. He's not beating puppies in his basement. We have disagreements. Robert and I, in fact, I think are an example of the kind of relationships that we used to be able to have in this country, where I could say, I believe in this, and he could say, I think you're wrong, I believe in this. And at the end of the day, we could break bread, shake hands, hug it out, and wish each other a great day. We don't do enough of that in this country any longer. It's a shame. But to me, these are the different things coming out of this week that we need to think about. It's not just the indictment or the reality TV show that's going to be the ex-president walking into the courthouse on Tuesday. It's the different ramifications that have come from it. The genuine historical sadness of a former occupant of the White House being indicted. The fact that a criminal held the office. And if he's found not guilty, then I will have to amend that statement. And that should be a sad thing to Americans. The way this is whipped up right-wing fervor, calls for violence and war, that should bother us. And the fact that if this crime had not taken place, where would we be now as a country should make us think. We should be demanding more from the people that run for office. I ask you as an audience this many times during this program, not just this today's program, but through the 4+ years of our program, which makes me think I'm going to end up ruining my train of thought. Oh, that's funny. I guess we should celebrate 2 weeks from now. That I've said on this program probably hundreds of times in the 4 years that we've been here. And I've asked you as an audience, are we not better than this? We have been, as a country in the past, better than this. Are we not better than this? I still believe in my heart that we are. Are we not better than this? That our first reaction to something that we don't agree with is to call for violence, to arm up and declare war. I don't like that Trump was indicted, so we should kill all the Democrats. Really? Is that really where we are? Is that all we are? Is that it? That's it. That's all we are? We're better than that. We're better than that. District Attorney Bragg brought charges through a very normal grand jury process. Well, it must be because he took a whole sack full of cash from George Soros. Really? Is that really where we are? Really? Honestly? That's the best you have? Are we not better than this? because of all the things in the world George Soros could be doing with himself, including the fact that his own home nation is now a fascist dictatorship. No, let me pay a district attorney to indict. I mean, that's all we got? Are we not better than this? I will continue to ask, because it never seems to me that anyone has an answer. Where's the answer? Who has the answer? When does this roughly 30-ish% of the population who has parted this finally start to, when do they take a step outside themselves and say, wait a minute, hang on, it's a bit much? Because sadly, I haven't seen it. Morning Joe spends an inordinate amount of time discussing, does Donald Trump still have, is he still the singular figure in the Republican Party? There are many things wrong with that question. A, it is not a political party anymore, it's a corporation. Republicans haven't been a functional political party probably since George W. Bush. Let's remember, they still have no formal platform. It's basically whatever Trump wants. Florida is no longer a functioning democracy, so far as I can tell. Texas is right behind it. The fact that this is not a national story, I think, is frightening. Frightening. That two states within the union are really essentially not even functioning democracies within our own union. These are not foreign nations. These are states within our own union that are not even functioning democracies. So when do enough of us take that kind of step outside of ourselves? The group among us who have supported this for way too long, and step back and say, wait, this is a bit much. Because we've crossed so many of these rivers that has not been enough to make anyone wake up. When Marjorie Taylor Greene chases David Hogg, a Parkland High School survivor, down the street screaming at him about how the shooting was fake, he doesn't really care, he's making money, we're never going to get rid of guns, that wasn't enough. When she screams at the sitting president in the middle of a State of the Union, that's not enough. When a group of elected Republican officials go visit convicted seditionists inside prison, that's not enough. Does DA Bragg need to be assassinated before people wake up? When Dr. Fauci had to get a full Secret Service detail because of the threats against him, somehow that's not enough. When is enough enough? And again, this isn't agreeing. This isn't about fostering universal unanimity agreement about about Medicare for all, or about the establishment of a national health service in the United States. We can disagree about those things. Hell, we should disagree about those things. That kind of disagreement and debate generally brings about even more solid, long-lasting policy solutions. But the social climate in this country is nothing like we've seen since the Civil War. And, you know, I've seen some articles in the last few weeks that as a direct result of the CHIPS Act passed by the Biden administration and Democrats, all Republicans voted against it. The biggest benefactors of that act, billion-dollar brand new semiconductor plants being built in states like Kentucky, Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama. Now, partly because they're non-union states, because labor's cheap there, but it's still going to mean thousands and thousands of jobs. And the people that are going to work in those factories are going to vote Republican till the day they die. And they hate this president, even though they're all going to go work in factories that are a direct result of this president, because they simply won't open their minds to hear anything different. Are we not better than this? Are we not better than this? 6:02 Eastern Daylight Savings Time here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The Kennedy Effect is live for the 2nd of April, 2023, wherever you might be across the Facebook universe. Stay with us. Stay exactly where you are. Continue to watch, listen, enjoy, share, talk about it. Agree, disagree. Hell, please disagree if you disagree. Give it to me. Throw it back at me. Robert's been throwing the comments in. Disagree all you wish. It's good for democracy. Disagree all you want. I will do my very best, promise, to keep up with your comments that might be coming in from different groups. I'm scanning very quickly. I don't see any so far, but if you are watching anywhere other than our home group page and you comment, I will do my very best, I promise, to keep up with your comments. Please come on over to our home group Facebook page, That Other Side of Information, where I will definitely see them straight away. And I will say hello, welcome you into the room. I'm behind on my doing that. And I will react to your comments straight away and include them as part of the program. I will also turn a phone line on. I can only assume that April and Kristen are having a lovely, lovely dessert and extended conversation and or dinner downstairs, because I don't know where. I thought April would be up here by now, but April is in the building, I promise. So take that. She will be up here, I can only assume, at some point. So there's that. But please continue to comment, send your questions, send your whatever. Like I said, agree, disagree, whatever. I want to hear it, and I will turn the phone line on shortly as well. I am typing as usual. I shouldn't be. I am welcoming people into the room, into the program. And so, yes, let's do that. Hot101.net, our name is our web address. There is nowhere where you cannot listen to Hot101.net. If you can connect to the internet, you can listen to Hot101.net, laptops, desktops, tablets, phones, Bluetooth speakers, headsets, earbuds, Bluetooth it in the car. And of course, you can tell your smart speaker to play hot101.net, the Apple App Store, Google Play Store for Android, and the TuneIn Radio app. If you have an electronic device and it can get to the internet, you can listen to hot101.net, and you should be. Clearly, I am not a music DJ, but I tell you, the music DJs on hot101.net are truly, genuinely, and sincerely gifted and talented, and you need to check them out. And it's not just all, I mean, it really is a genuinely wide variety of music. It's really something to behold, and you need to check it out. A little bit of bad news when it comes to hot101.net. So, good news and bad news. The Villain's View, Sergeant Mac, will not be with you for the next couple of weeks. He has had some good news inside the family. I will let him tell you about that, a new addition to the family. So he is spending time with his family. So normally the Villain's View comes your way 9 p.m. I received a message that they will be off for a couple of weeks, but that's, you know what? It's still Palm Sunday and Easter, so they probably would have been off anyway. But he's got a new addition in the family, so he's a proud grandpa, and he will be away for 2 weeks. We will not be with you next week either. So the political block that is normally on hot101.net on Sundays will not. It's just going to be a quiet day through hot101.net. There will still be music on. Listen, it's always on 24/7. It's always there. The political block that normally comes your way on Sundays will not be with you next week as we celebrate Easter Sunday. TCP Media Group 2 out of event, let's never forget them, out of right here out of Lancaster, PA, is also part of our program. There's something else that I want to get to, but let me take, there are some comments that I missed, and so Robert did mention that he is not arming up for Trump. Thank God. Let DA Bragg be aggressive on violent criminals. New York continues to be one of the safest large cities on the planet, not just in the country. While crime has somewhat ticked up in New York from the Bloomberg days, it still continues to be one of the safest large cities in the country, if not the planet. And I continue to espouse, and I believe that Robert deep in his heart knows this, that crime, robberies, muggings, crimes of this sort are crimes of desperation. They are not crimes of passion. They are not crimes for fun. They are crimes of desperation. When people are economically secure, crime goes down. And that's going to lead me into what I want to talk about as we enter this second hour. Well, we're already in the second hour, but Fern, a former guest on the program, mentions, a member of our family, I should say, all guests are a member of our family. Last night, I overheard in a general store, quote, you can't talk to her. She's so anti-Trump, you'll never get her to understand that. Now you can walk down the street and be charged with a crime. You just wait. Soon it will be a felony to take out the garbage. I heard some crazy things in the campaign trail, but this is where we are now. She is right to a great extent that the real hardcore red hats, the ones who would split this country in many, many, many pieces to suit their own wants and satisfactions, have been convinced that this is what's happening in the country. I would only go back to what I said last week, and I think the week before. Remember, and actually we can get into this later in the program as well, the Dominion voting machine lawsuit against Fox is proceeding. A judge refused to throw it out again this week. Fox lawyers for Fox, I think, on a weekly basis petition the court to have the case thrown out. Yet again this past week, the judge ruled that the case will go forward. I am no lawyer. I do not play one on the radio. As a part of any legal case, there's something called discovery. where the lawyers for both sides, by the way, are allowed to petition each other. We want to see emails, text messages, correspondence. They might ask for bank records or medical records, things of this sort, depending on the type of case. And you've seen in the press, the Dominion has released what they have found through discovery over the past several months. They've actually even released some transcripts of depositions that have taken place through witnesses that they have called, including Rupert and Lachlan Murdoch. And the bottom line of this is that Rupert and Lachlan have admitted under oath in depositions that Fox News lies. Period. End of story. That Fox should not be considered news. They are entertainment. And that they lie, because that's what people watch and that's how they sell advertising. So for the hardcore people that Fern sees at the general store, and yes, there are still general stores in this country, thank goodness, they are so convinced of what they are spewing that she hears. I would only point people like that to those articles. I would even point dear friends who are way more learned and considered, like Robert. Fox has admitted in court under oath, under threat of prosecution for perjury, that they lie as a matter of business. As a matter of standard practice, they lie. So that when you get done watching Tucker and that look, that face of pain and constipation on his each night, puzzlement, or whether it's Hannity just screaming down anyone who doesn't agree with him, and all the rest of them for that matter. Lou Dobbs, who they actually had a fire. They have admitted under threat of perjury that they lie, that their programs and their business and their quote unquote news channel is based on lying, because it inflames the people that watch them. It makes them watch longer, which means they watch more commercials and means they buy products from the people who pay for the advertising. It means more clicks, and on and on and on. Santo, I think it's Mirabelli. I hope I said that correctly, and please, you have a go at me if I did say it incorrectly. I don't think that 30% of MAGA people will get it until the actual violent civil war starts in reality. They are that big a cult that many, many of us are going to have to die before the country rights itself. I hope you are incorrect. I very, very much hope you are incorrect. I still do not want to bring myself to believe that there will be full-scale shooting civil war in this country, but I don't think it's that far away. But we don't have to end up there either. Again, I would point to the 2 Facebook groups that have been kind enough to welcome me, and that's how I look at it. Not that I joined them, but that they were kind enough to welcome me. They have allowed me to share the program there. I will try to find the names of them before it's over. But they are based around the idea that Republicans and Democrats are coming together to right the wrongs in this country. So there is hope out there. I think this program is some hope. As deeply partisan as I am, and I openly admit that I am, I do not hate people like Robert. Robert is my dear friend. We simply disagree. I don't hate him. We just disagree. I don't believe Robert hates me. We just disagree. We can get back to that. And by the way, that's okay. Not that Robert needs my permission to disagree with me, but it's good on many levels that we disagree with each other. When he and I discuss and debate, we learn from each other. That's good. It's good for both of us. It's good for the communities we live in. It's good for the country. And I refuse to believe anything different. I properly refuse to believe anything different. Am I missing anything else? I don't think so. Let me turn the phone line on. I have no idea what those ladies are doing downstairs. I'm starting to think I'm getting stood up in a weird sort of way. I mean, Kristen lives here. She can't go anywhere. That's not what I meant. That came out wrong. She can't go anywhere. Oh my God. I didn't. That's not how I should have said it. But I imagine her and April just having a good enough time and they decided she's not coming up anytime soon. But let me put the phone line on the screen. There is another. Oh God, I can't turn around. Yeah, 919. That's what I thought. Somehow forgot my own phone number in my own program. There is something else I wanted to talk about. I wasn't actually considering getting into the Fox thing, but we can talk about it. And show is going to basically go as long as I can talk, especially if April somehow doesn't come up. I don't know if she somehow got called home or something happened. I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on, to be honest. I know Daisy went crazy before, so I don't know if she just saw a bird outside and went crazy, or if she tends to bark whenever people come, but then she starts to bark all over again when they leave, which is kind of cute, really, because she gets very defensive of the home when someone comes here, and then she kind of barks all over again when they're leaving because she doesn't want them to leave. It's kind of cute. So I'm not sure if April left or if they're just having such a good time down there that they forgot I'm even up here. I'm easily forgettable. But there is something else that I wanted to get into, and I'm please forgive me that I don't know where this article came from, but it was it was something else that gave me hope, to be honest, because they actually talked about it on Morning Joe. Tom Hartman talks about this talks about it every single day, but this is one of the things that I've been desperate for media to talk about, and they don't. You will be familiar, if you are any steady listener and or viewer of the program, that I talk about this all the time, and that I do try to take the current events and current happenings of our nation to what I feel is what I feel is a logical conclusion. And that is, it's all about the billionaires. While roughly 30% of the country is ready to go to war because Trump has been indicted for paying off to hide these stories to make sure he becomes president, the billionaires sit back and laugh and count their money and continue to extract wealth from the rest of us, as we're all distracted with these not small things, but as we're distracted with these things, they continue to just get richer and richer and richer and richer. And at the end of the day, I think that's what it's all about. We mentioned this last week when Dave Pope was our guest, about why are trans people so hated? Why are they such targets? Why are they the targets du jour? Because it's profitable. They're easy targets. Trans folks are at most 3% of the population. So there's not a lot of them to fight back. So they're easy targets. And they also have they have their own lives to worry about. Their own body image struggles, their own mental struggles, they have themselves to worry about. Sometimes it's easy to attack them because they can't fight back. I have an itchy nose. allergies are going to start. It's going to get really ugly around here. It's been very, very windy. And the flowers are really, really blooming, and they're beautiful. My goodness, there's so many tulips and hyacinths and things that folks have planted around the complex where we live, and the trees are all bursting, and it's really starting to bug me. So I keep doing this because my nose is itching like crazy, and I'm trying not to sneeze. So they're targets, and they're easy targets. And you'll remember that we talked about, why does the right want to subdivide us into so many small little groups? Smaller groups can't fight back. When the 99% stands together, we cannot be defeated. But when the 99% is divided into 0.5 here, 0.5 here, 0.5 here, 0.5 here, none of those groups will stand together and can be victorious against the richest. That it always comes down to money. Do the Koch brothers really give a crap that Day Pope is a trans woman? No, they don't care. They could care less. Do they care that enough of the population is focused on the fact that she's a trans woman that it distracts them from the fact that the Koch brothers are extracting wealth from them that they care about? Do the Mercers and Peter Thiel and the My Pillow guy really at the end of the day give a crap about abortion? No. Do they care that abortion drives people to the polls to vote for other people that they are bankrolling, bought and paid for, who will lower taxes on people like Peter Thiel and the Mercers and the My Pillow guy? That's what they care about. That's what they care about. So when I heard Morning Joe discuss this particular article, I was very, very excited. So what article are we talking about? Well, I heard this while I was driving to work. I don't know who wrote it. I think it was in the Atlantic. And basically, it was a study that's being done. It was done since 2000, since the year 2000. However, the study very well could have been, and should have been done since the onset of the Reagan era. And what it shows is that Americans are much less community oriented. We are much less charitable. And that we are infinitely more worried about money, and that we are not replacing ourselves. He searches for a kind way to say it. We're not having babies. Now, why would all that be? They came to the same conclusion that I came to as the words were coming through my radio speakers. This is the result of Reaganism. This is exactly what the plan behind Reaganism was, to make us all desperate. What have I told you on this program was the greatest lies of Thatcherism and Reaganism? That we are not a community, that we are a group of rugged individuals. Well, this study has shown that we don't think of ourselves as a community, as an integrated society, as much as we used to. That we don't donate to charities in the same amounts of money, and that we don't do charitable work in the same amounts that we used to. Why don't we? Because we don't have the money to donate. We don't have the time to donate because we work multiple jobs. We don't have the money because we work multiple jobs to get the money to keep us afloat. That was the plan, to make us desperate, to keep us desperate. When a minimum wage job from the Reagan era should now be paying $35 an hour, but it's still only paying $7.25, you need 4 of them. That's desperate. When you need to accept a job lesser than your education or skills because that particular one might offer health insurance, but the others might not, that's desperation. I can't pay attention to what's happening in national politics. I'm just trying to feed my family. That's desperation. I need to steal because I can't make enough to feed my family. That's desperation. And that's exactly what Reaganism was designed to do, to make the middle class and the lower classes desperate, that we would accept what was put upon us. Poor schools, too bad. We just need to make a living to feed ourselves and keep a roof over our head. No union, oh well, I'm just happy to have a job. Can't drink the water? Oh, well, Nestle sells water in bottles. I'll just get that. Desperate. Economically desperate. That's exactly what it was designed to do. So this study comes and says, we don't donate monetarily to charities in the same ways we used to. Well, no kidding. At the same time, by the way, those charities are needed more than ever. Well, no kidding, we don't, because we're broke and we're desperate. We don't donate hours to charities the way we used to. Maybe a park cleanup, or reading books to kids at story time, or any one of 100 different things, probably. Of course, we don't do that. Why don't we do that? Well, because we're working multiple jobs. In the 60s, up until the late 60s, a family of 4 could be sustained, house, car, vacation. Family of 4 could be fully sustained on 1.2 full-time jobs. That means that traditionally, dad could work 45 hours a week and take care of his family of 4. Feed them, clothe them, keep a house over their roof over their heads, roof over their heads, a car in the driveway, and they could still take a 2-week vacation every year. That is now 2.7. Rapidly approaching, by the way, 3. And it's expected to be 3.2 by 2030. So that's now 120, 130 hours a week to support that same thing. 2 parents, 2 children, roof over your head, 1 car in the car park, and a holiday. From 1.2 to 3.2 in 50 years. By design. By design. Not by accident. By design. And here's the only part of the study that I don't think Reaganism took into account. That we are not replacing ourselves. Even though the population of the United States continues to grow, it is growing largely through immigration and the offspring of those immigrants. Well, you did show up It is growing largely through immigration and the offspring of those immigrants. Faces like this are not replacing themselves. I think that's the one aspect of Reaganism that was not anticipated, which is very interesting to me, because if those folks had any brains whatsoever, they would have realized that once you can't afford to have children, you're not going to have children. And that the shades of skin tone of children that they didn't want are continuing to grow. I don't know how the folks who are behind trickle-down economics, behind Reaganism, thought that white folks would continue to have more and more and more babies while black and brown folks didn't. But when we got poor, we stopped having babies too. So the fact that this study came out at all, I find as a sign of hope. And you might think to yourselves, well, what's hopeful about such what is otherwise a depressing study? Because it's truth. Because it's more evidence of what most of us either already knew or damn well should have known, that this is exactly what Reaganism was designed to do, and it's doing it. We are poorer, we are more desperate, and it is our communities, our neighborhoods, our society that is suffering for it. Exactly as it was designed. This is not an accident of Reaganism, it is the design of Reaganism. All the while, the billionaire class has radically expanded, and $50+ trillion of wealth has gone to the top 1%. And that's not just new wealth. They have extracted some of that wealth from us. Those are right there. And all you have to do is turn the camera on, I think, if I did it right. Well, you do, because I told everybody you were. So now you have to. Don't shake your head, you don't want to. You have to. You just have to turn the camera on, I think. Whatever. So that's the point of it. And I'm glad that a place like Morning Joe finally talked about this crap, because they are notorious for never taking the argument to its final and logical conclusion. They talk every single morning about Trumpism and the radicals within Republicanism and the Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Boeberts and the Gosars and the Jim Jordans and the Matt Gaetzes, but they never follow it to its logical conclusion. Why is this happening? Who's behind it? They tend to stop the discussion at Matt Gaetz. Gaetz only promulgates. That was probably bad. The Marjorie Taylor Greens and the Boeberts and the Gosars and the Gaetz and they only promulgate what they are paid to talk about. The falsehoods, the radicalism, the screaming, the blah 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 that they are told to talk about. They are not pushing policies. They are fighting policies because they're paid to not govern. Paid by a billionaire class that does not want government to function because they get richer the less effective government is. Why did that group get apoplectic that the IRS was going to hire more agents? Because the rich was finally going to get audited. And they didn't want that. The rich people financing these campaigns didn't want to be audited. I told you she was coming. Now you just got to unmute the thing. Actually, you don't. I don't think. Actually, I don't think you have to unmute that. I can't remember, to be honest. The last time Kristen sat there, I don't think you pull that close and let me know if you need to. I will see.
You can hear me?
I hear you. I just don't remember if the audience can. I don't know if you have to unmute that or not.
I'll unmute it.
I don't remember. I hear you in the headset.
Okay.
No, don't unmute that. There's the echo. Now you. Okay, beautiful. You don't have to unmute that. Sorry, because it's all going through here. I forgot how that worked. Sorry. Little mistake. Anyway, 6:36 Eastern time. Let's do a quick reset. And remember that the phone line is open and it will stay open for the rest of the time that we're here with you. Probably 8 o'clock-ish or before. Wherever you are on Facebook, stay there, enjoy, but you are welcome to come on over to our home group Facebook page, That Other Side of Information, where you can enter the chat, put your comments in there. I will read them. Questions, comments, agree, disagree, yell, scream, whatever you want to do. That Other Side of Information. If you have allowed us to be part of your slice of the Facebook universe, your group, private or public, your page, your personal timeline, whatever it might be, thank you, thank you, thank you. We could not do it without you, and we deeply, deeply appreciate it. Thank you again. Please feel free to share this program everywhere that you wish. Share it everywhere. Everywhere that you think it's appropriate, and especially where maybe it's not. Feel free. Hot101.net, our name is our web address, main website, but you can also use our apps, Apple App Store, Google Play Store, and the Tune In radio app. If you have a device that connects to the internet, you can listen. Hot101.net, desktops, laptops, tablet, phone, Bluetooth speaker, Bluetooth headset, earbuds, Bluetooth it in the car while you drive. If you're a delivery person, Bluetooth it in the truck while you work. It is always on 24/7 and around the globe. And of course, TCP, the culture professional from Lancaster, PA. If you have missed any of our terribly, terribly exciting program this evening, please know that George will work his magic sometime after the program is over, between now and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it will be available on our YouTube channel, also called That Other Side of Information. All of our social media is right here over my left shoulder. You can always find us. That Other Side of Information, YouTube, Patreon, TikTok, Instagram. We're very, very simple to find. Eventually, one of these days, even the evilness of Twitch, we will be there eventually. As you can see, the boss is in the house. And Rosanna quickly said, "We hear you, Miss April." So there are people waiting for the boss.
Hey, Rosanna.
There are people here waiting for the boss to be heard. So you made it to the studio. How about that?
I know it's been a while, right?
This was the room where your grandson's bedroom came from.
Yeah.
This is where the beds were.
We had to get room for a studio, but I do remember, oh my God,
But you actually haven't
been here since you took all that stuff out.
really?
Yeah.
No. You
Yeah,
were here.
I know. I haven't
Since we did this.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
It's what, a year, almost 2 years.
It occurred to me, as I was telling people that we were not going to be here for Easter,
Yeah.
that I have work to do, because as I look at the calendar, today is the 2nd, the 9th is Easter, the 16th is pretty much our 4th anniversary.
Oh wow. We just started that. It's been that long.
That's pretty wild.
That is crazy.
It was 2019, I think, wasn't it?
It was right before the lockdown.
I think it was
It was
2019.
right before the lockdown.
I think it was before that though, because I was
you
working
You
still.
were on before the lockdown.
I
Yeah.
was still working.
Mhm, it was
So I think it was April 17th of 2019.
Yeah.
So the closest Sunday that we will be on with you would be the 16th, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So we will have to celebrate our 4th anniversary 2 weeks from So tell the truth. Did you think I'd still be doing this 4 years
Yeah.
from now?
Yeah. Your
4 years,
passion's
4 years from now. 4
Yeah.
years from then.
4 years from then and 4
Duh.
years from now. It's a process, but like I said, I never thought Hot 101 would be around for more than 10 years, but we are. We're here. We were like, the setup now is different from then, like first coming on the air with Hot 101 with internet radio. Everybody was like, oh, it's just a phase. And we were doing it, and it was a lot of work to get the work all the kinks out. So those who want to come and be on Hot 101.
Well, even how far the technology
Yeah.
has come just from when you guys started.
Oh my God. I mean, if I would go and broadcast, I'll get static. I'm like, oh, I got flip mode. And I'd be calling Florida or calling
Or
Jersey.
Just get stuck.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
just, I mean, even when I think about the fact that we've been doing this for 4 years, this didn't exist.
No.
When 101 started, we couldn't have done this.
No, all we had, what was it? Not Zoom. What was the other?
Skype?
We
Skype.
updated and stuff. I still have my old Skype call-in number. I just can't figure out how to get on it. Yeah, and I'm still paying for it, not using it. But yeah, we did Skype call-ins. We had them go into the radio, but we didn't have Facebook at the time. They would call and look at us and talk. And we were getting people from all over the world calling us on Skype, and it was really cool. So it was interesting. That's all I can say.
Oh my God, I have to ask George. Really, I don't know who uses Skype anymore.
I even had a Skype monitor.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So
People use Skype anymore?
yeah, they do. Actually, in the South and over in Africa a lot. In the Midwest, it's still, they updated it a lot. A lot of people still, like I said, it's still around. But Microsoft has Skype now. Before it was its own independent contract.
No wonder I can't stand it. Microsoft got its hands on it. Just a very basic fact of life, folks. Anything Microsoft touches seems to die on the vine. Apple's just better stuff. I know I'm really going to get some pushback from that, but Apple's just better stuff.
You try to call people with
It's
Microsoft.
just simpler. It's easier to use. It's just easier to use. There is some Hot 101 news, though. It's not brand new news for those of you who are catching us on hot101.net. And not just the radio part, but the Hot 101 has a pretty substantial Facebook presence as well. You returned to Hot 101.
Yeah.
You're doing Wednesday mornings.
Yeah, this is a simple show for an hour with me and Lex.
For an hour for now.
For now, yeah. It's just, because we haven't been back on the air in a while, and there's so much drama going on. So it's kind of like Wednesday morning, laughing and getting. So we invite guests to call in and join us and just laugh. But it's an old show called The Morning Wood. Unfortunately, things have changed. And so a lot of those that were with us can't seem to join us, but we're looking for people to join us. And so we just get on and talk about the current events that are going on in the world and talk about personal stuff and just laugh. But unfortunately, it's a lot of negativity. So it's hard to find good topics to talk about. So we pretty much laugh at the stars.
There's nothing wrong with an escape.
Yeah, because Lex don't like politics. So when I start talking politics, we're going to break. So he doesn't like politics. So it's just a way of just testing the waters. But he's supposed to be, because Lex travels a lot DJing, so he does a lot of freestyle concerts. He's actually going to be in Jersey next week, I think.
So he's going to be up here again and didn't tell anybody.
In Jersey doing.
Yeah, but where?
But he's traveling with because he's, how when they have the concerts, they have the main DJ.
Yeah.
So he travels with the concert.
Yeah.
He's here one night, then he's in another state the next night. So I think it's next week or the following weekend, because he said, did I want to come? I said, me, I'm not one for concerts. I'm one working. I said, if I get behind the scene and do photos, fine. But for me to sit out there like, I don't do that. No.
So if you didn't know already, if you are listening to us on 101, or if you're watching on any of the Facebook, the public or private page, the boss, Wednesday mornings from 10 still, I think,
I know we
or
do
9?
we do 9 to 10, sometimes 10:30, depending upon how we're feeling. And we just it's just pass time, talk about topics that's going on in the world, try to laugh a little bit, just have a good time. Like I said, it's still new. We're still trying to get other hosts to jump in. It's when people say they want to do it, and then when they realize the work that goes into it, kind of scares them off.
Yeah, tell me about
So
it.
it's always hard to find that dedication. And when people think they can really talk, they realize that they'll do research on certain information and they'll run out of material in 15 minutes and they still got 45 minutes to go. You know what I'm saying?
4 years into this, the single worst part of this is guests.
Yes, it's not an easy task.
Is trying to get guests and begging for guests and
It's
all
not
of
an easy
the
task at all whatsoever.
all of it is just yeah.
But I
Like,
do remember
it's
but I do remember when we first started out how we was trying to get to start on the FM channel over there in Bethlehem and that they play polka music.
yeah, that's true. It's true. There is still look, I mean, there's still a place for maybe that's an interesting thing to chat about quickly. There's still a place for all the different ways that technology has brought us to bring folks to you from what we do here. Again, this technology didn't even exist really much 10 years ago. I couldn't have done this. Really, even I think even the broadband access probably wasn't good enough that I could have done this even 10 years ago. But terrestrial radio still exists and it's still a real force. I have given this statistic on the show way too many times, probably. There's over 1,500 right-wing hate radio stations in this country.
I know.
On top of that, not part of that 1,500, but on top of that is another 500 plus that are Spanish language hate radio stations. One of them's right over in Allentown.
I know. And that's why
and by the way, for the folks who want to tell me that that's not a right-wing hate radio station in Spanish, wrong. It is. It is. But when the owner and the morning host is telling you not to vote for black people for office, that's right-wing hate.
But also too, you know, that when we was trying to get you on that radio, that was
so terrestrial. So when we were thinking of starting this, we went a traditional route, terrestrial radio. People still turn the dial on in their cars and hear it.
Yeah, but the problem was they were scared of you.
Damn straight they were
scared of you.
Damn straight they were. One of the greatest things that came out of this program, and I haven't reached out to any of them in quite a while, actually, come to think of it. I should.
Yeah.
Is that they started listening.
Yes, they did.
And said, and you heard it too. Ooh, we missed that.
And I was trying to sell it to them.
We swung and missed. Yeah, we swung and missed.
We was trying to sell you so hard. And it was funny because he was like, can you sit on the shows? And it was he did the reset. And it was funny because I told him, I said, I know how to do video. I said, but he literally got the phone call when I was trying to make, I said, he said, what kind of music? I said, can you at least play late 80s, 90s, soft hip hop or R&B? He got in trouble for that.
Yeah, even adult contemporary.
They couldn't handle that. The songs I was picking out, they were like, what were you playing for an hour? So I was like, yeah. And it was like, well, after I got off the air, he was in the time when we was trying to get you on, he was asking me to help him host. And then I was trying to get him to play like old school 80s soft hip hop, you know what I'm saying, and rap and R&B. Even Cyndi Lauper was too much for them. So
what? Well, let me ask you, and maybe you, I don't know, maybe you'll end up disagreeing. I don't know. I doubt it, though, to be honest. Why do you think? I know when you and I have sought out advertising for this program, that we've gotten a lot of pushback that I don't want to put my business name on something political. And I've been with Kristen where I've solicited advertising too, and I don't want to put And I remember actually just being at a family pizza place. And we didn't stop going there or anything. We continue to go there. So it wasn't a personal disagreement.
Right. It's just their own preference.
I don't want to have anything. Well, Democrats buy pizza,
Republicans buy pizza.
but so do
independents buy-
Republicans too.
And independents.
Right?
do.
We all do,
Yeah.
right? Why do you think a station like that would be so afraid of something like this? Why do you think radio, if this type of program was so frightening and scary and polarizing? Well, I know the answer, you know the answer, but the answer is there's big money behind it. Right-wing hate radio can lose money. Fox News lost money for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Because Murdoch was willing to bankroll it, because he knew eventually he'd make money. He also knew that the policies that they were pushing were going to mean tax cuts for him, and he was going to put more money in his pocket one way or another. Right-wing hate radio is bankrolled to lose money, because the policies that it's putting out there they're making money anyway.
Right.
The station itself might not be making money, the programs might not be making money, but the policies that they're pushing, the tax cuts, everything else, they're making money.
Yeah.
Why do you think small stations like that one, I probably shouldn't name them, I'm going to tag them right now, but I probably shouldn't name them.
Don't do that.
Why do you suppose they're so afraid of this?
Truth. Scared of truth. The problem is it's easier to push the negative than the positive. It's easier to push the false narrative altogether. People don't want the truth. And unfortunately, this is the world that we live in, and it's gotten worse, especially since or after COVID. It's even like out of control. So they tell people what they want to hear versus this form of radio tells the truth. That's the difference.
So how sad is that?
It is sad because we like
That oh, I'm blanking out on his name now. The guy that does mornings on WAEB can just go. Why am I blanking on his name? Can just go on and just lie. But that's somehow
it's
better.
called ratings. It's called ratings, and unfortunately, people get caught up in the advertisement and the ratings and the points to stay irrelevant. And that goes for a lot of things off the board and anything with media, like prime example, using current social media. Did you ever see TikTok and the girl's sister acting like she's a cartoon character and she sits there for hours just look, and I'm like, and they're paying her money. So that's where that platform would they find the stupidest things they make money for. As to a radio, controversy sells. So they will literally put their ads in that radio station, even if they don't agree with it, because it's a popular station that gets footwork. And when it has footwork going there, they're going to make, that's going to get that business money because they're going to come to the business because they heard it on that radio. It has nothing to do with truth or transparency. It's all about the revenue and all about the money. And unfortunately, this is the world we live in.
So how sad is that?
Yeah, we became a world, that old-fashioned saying we can agree to disagree. There's no such thing like that no more. And like I was telling everybody, we have to learn to agree to disagree no more. You can have a disagreement, go back and forth, but still have respect for each other. Agree to disagree. You don't have to always agree with everybody. And now we have this world that we go along and, fake the funk. And that's where you have a lot of problems. So I can tell the person, you know what, I can work with you. I don't like your standards. I don't like you as a person, but we have a common cause. And the common cause, and if we're going to work together, we'll work on that common cause. But we ain't got a kumbaya. We got to walk down the street. I'm skipping down the street. We just got to have a common cause, work with each other. And the world doesn't know how to do that no more. So we've forgotten to learn how to agree to disagree. And the same goes for whether it's social media outlets, or even everyday life, or different parties. it's gotten bad. It's not the Republican Party anymore. It's the Trump Party and the Republican Party, because there's those that are separating themselves from him that are calling themselves the Republican Party, then the Trump Party, as well as the Democratic Party too has its two separate parties as well now. And so you have the extreme progressive and you have the regular Democratic Party. And so there's a lot of misinformation out there, and so everything's splitting apart. So, and again, this all came during the COVID era, and that's the problem. So they call them the radicals, the far right radicals or far left radicals, either way around. And what happens is, on both sides, we got liars, but we have some that are more extreme than the others, and it's sad because there is some good Republican people that understand what we're going through, and so on and so forth. And the Democrat side, there's some horrible Democrats, and that's the world we're living in now.
It's depressing to think that lying is
Okay,
is somehow okay,
and it's scary,
and that it's become profitable because it's somehow simpler. And it is simpler to lie than to do the research and read and learn and
or let
study.
somebody else tell you and you believe, oh, yep, that's what they said. It's a very lazy, dumbing down society, and social media has done that. So if you are loud enough on social media, or if you're loud enough on radio, people are going to listen to you and laugh at you at the same time. But at the same time, they're laughing at you, they're listening to you like, oh, it must be true because they're saying it. No, dummy. Oop, almost cussed.
There is no, but there's an implicit respectability. There's an implicit the general public seems to implicitly trust the person with this in front of them
because
they have this in front of
a
them.
lazy society.
Except that
not across the board, but
the same technology that allows us to do this now allows anybody to do this.
that's
now.
my point. Like I said, anybody can have a podcast. But like prime example, like when you were trying to do terrestrial radio, and
I've done terrestrial.
I know, but when you was trying to get back,
since I was in high school,
and you was trying to get back into it because you were so used to it, you didn't understand how this worked. And I was saying to you, push comes.
Oh, how this part works.
Yeah.
No, I understood terrestrial.
Right. And I was telling you, push comes to shove. If this don't work out, come to Hot 101. And I got so tired of trying. I remember, like, I'm done. You're going to Hot 101. You're going to do internet radio.
Folks, I can tell you, April told me more than one time. I got so hung up on terrestrial radio because it's all I understood. And I can tell you more than a few times, April would just get so. Okay, she just shake her head and yes me to death, so I would shut up and just say, "Look, I know it's okay. I got it, and I would just, yep, and then just do things that I didn't know about, and everything's worked exactly the way that she said it was going to work. The only thing I still obsess about is that little live square, and these are things you've told me not to obsess about,
right?
And the phone calls, I still obsess about that, even though you've told me not to obsess about these things, but I do still obsess about them.
It took time when I was doing my radio show, but again, you're talking about politics, it's a whole different level versus what I was doing. My show was the weirdest name. It was called Miss April Tell Me. I know it was stupid, but back then it made sense. So my motto was, come talk to me. Come talk. If it's important to you, it's important to me. Come sit a while. Come talk a while. Come tell me. So I was at that time when Black Lives Matter had just got started. So I was on the air at a very crucial time that I was original Black Lives Matter people. I was talking to them while the protest was going on. I was talking to them while the college was teaching white supremacy in the Black history classes. So I had that input. I was there when the stand your ground lady shot the bullet in the air. Nobody would talk to her, and her family called her and talked to me on the phone. I got to hear them stories before they made news media. And for those who know hip hop, I had the pleasure of meeting the real Rick. I was the real Rick Ross's first interview, and that was so cool. When he first came out of jail, because everybody thought the hip hop artist Rick Ross was Rick Ross. No, he took this man's identity because he thought he would never get out of jail, and he came out to tell on him. And then I had a second interview with him when he was trying to get his identity back, and unfortunately, he lost in court. But he said, you know what, I'm not gonna be mad at him no more because he's gonna make me money. And sure enough, he's back on top. You know what I'm saying? Doing his own thing now, the real Rick Ross, freeway Rick Ross. So it can open doors. It's just a pit. And see, what you're doing is politics. And the problem is because of so many podcasts and because of Twitch, because of YouTube, because of there's platforms out there that we don't even know about because depends upon where you're at, what kind of platforms they have. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is that you have so much information out there that nobody knows how to absorb it and they don't know who to believe. So what people do is they go to what they're comfortable with, what makes them comfortable to listen to. So that's where you have the misinformation. So how do you know if this person's telling the truth or not? Some people just sit there and listen, or somebody will listen, and while they're listening to you, they'll go on the internet and look it up. That's the right way to do it. You know what I'm saying? So the problem is that you're not controversial. If you're even though you tell them the truth, you're not controversial enough because you're honest. So you sitting up here saying I have integrity and I'm not going to sit here and lie, I'm trying to educate everybody, you're boring to them. And unfortunately,
And that's sad in its own way, isn't it?
It is quite sad, but this is the world we live in.
It's sad in its own way that by not being a circus.
And the reason why I can say that by design. If I would have regular interviews with regular people, I would not get hardly lucky if I had 80 listeners. But again, it took time to get there. If I brought a show up one time, the girl's like, I want to put him on blast. I said, you cannot do this. The other person, you both got to come on in order for me to do it. So it's controversy, Facebook controversy when it first came out. So I did a show on that. I kid you not, I had 800 listeners because it was controversy and they were going back and forth. You know what I'm saying? And it shouldn't take people to want to listen to you and listen to your show. People should want to be educated, but unfortunately we have a dummy down society. Not everybody, but we have a dummy down society that's, oh, well, let me just put this in Google and Google will really tell me what it's about. Not let me look in Google, then guess what? I'm going to go to such and such website to study more about it. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm going to go to my library, or I'm going to pull out my dictionaries at home and I'm blow off the dust and I'm going to look at them. So this is where we came to a society that cannot agree to disagree no more.
Did you miss it?
I do.
Once you got back, because I know how hard
it's a lot to
we
get.
had to talk to you to get back on. I don't want any part of that anymore. It's all goofy, and it's just it's,
I don't know nobody watching
performance
me.
art now, and this and that and the other thing.
I don't
Well, you missed it.
I did because it's a lot of things going on that I can talk about, and I do get phone calls every now and then from somebody in Texas or somebody in California to inbox me and say, hey, can you set me up with an interview? And I'll tell them I'm not on the air no more. Like, oh, so it's a lot of stuff going on and I did promise Lex I would get back into it. So this is why I'm doing the morning wood. It's a lot of stuff going on. I get them inboxes, and what's good about the radio is that I had people from England calling me through my Skype, from places I never heard, other parts of the world. Every now and then I'll get a phone call. Because you meet people too, and you create relationships with a lot of people, and it's freaking amazing. It really is, and it can open doors for a lot of things. It did open doors for me that allowed me to go places, and I ain't gonna lie to you, I got spoiled behind it because I would go to major concerts because it has its benefits when you build that status. Though it's not just because you open up a podcast that you're just gonna boom. You got to do the work, and if you don't do the work, it's not gonna pay off. But it's not easy work. It's just You got to know that niche. You got to know what people want to hear. You got to make sure you have, like you said, the interviews. You got to make sure you have the right kind of music because you talk straight through. I used to take breaks and come back and play music. And
Because I don't know when to shut up.
I
Because I don't know when to shut up. Although the older I get in the 4 years, I have been taking. Usually at 7 o'clock, I take a break.
and that's why I said find a way at 7 o'clock to put a little video up there while you're taking a break or something, So that kind of so as you get more into it, you're gonna have little niches here and then. That's how it was for me. I had to learn from it. So we were doing it when we had nobody showing us nothing. And it was fun, but at the same time, it could be stressful at the same time because technology, no matter what, is always something can go wrong.
7:05 daylight Eastern Daylight Time here on the Kennedy Effect, live with you for the 2nd of April. I almost said the 26th of March. That was last week. For the 2nd of April, 2023. Happy Palm Sunday.
Yes.
To those of you around the world. We will not be with you next week for Easter Sunday. We wish all of you, not just the Christian community, but all of you, a blessed Easter Sunday, a happy Passover, whatever faith, religion you may celebrate or be part of in your family. I don't care. I wish you a happy Easter anyway. It is a high holy time of the year across all faiths, and I still wish you peace. I wish you happiness, family togetherness, a very happy spring too, a time of renewal and rebirth. It's getting a little warmer, a time for us all to come back together again from, at least in Pennsylvania anyway, what was not really a bad winter. But a time that we can get outdoors again, see each other, walk the dogs, come back together, all that kind of stuff. So whatever faith you may hold dear to your heart, I wish you a happy Easter anyway. And all of the principles and ideals that come with Easter, rebirth, renewal, togetherness, fellowship, peace, happiness, all of it. I wish you a happy, happy Easter. A blessed Easter. So we will not be with you next week, but we will return to celebrate our 4th anniversary on April 16th. A note as well to our friends at hot101.net and to our friends at The Villain's View that follows us, a show that actually came out of this show. So can't say we didn't accomplish anything in 4 years. Sergeant Mack will be off for the next 2 weeks as well. Welcomed a new addition to the family, so he will be spending some time with the family during the high holy seasons as well. Good timing, really. It was holidays anyway, so he will be spending time with the family as well. So no Villain's View for the next 2 weeks as well. So wherever you are on Facebook, stay there, enjoy, or you can come over to our home group Facebook page, That Other Side of Information. Put your questions, comments, anything you want in there. It will be heard. We will talk about it. The phone line is open, 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. Hot101.net, Apple App Store, Google Play Store, and the TuneIn Radio app. And of course, America's favorite new game show. You can tell Alexa to play Hot101.net and the TCP Media Group from Lancaster, PA. So not only have you returned to the radio, we'll probably take you to just to the end of the hour, probably till about 8 o'clock, because I'm still hungry and because I get up really early for work. So probably taking you till about 8 o'clock. But again, if you missed any of the program from its beginning, always remember, and if you've missed any of our programs from any week, please remember, when our program finishes, sometimes immediately after, sometimes Monday, Tuesday, whenever he has the time, because he donates and volunteers his time, because for some reason he's been silly enough to be friends with me for over 20 years. George will do his magic and take this program and turn it into a video format that fits on YouTube, and it will go to our YouTube channel, which is also called That Other Side of Information, and you can find all of our programs at our YouTube channel, That Other Side of Information. So if you missed anything, you can watch it there after George does his video magic from the beginning. If you missed last week's program, it's there. The week before, it's there. Our very first program is there. And I guarantee you, it's a little weird to go back and look at it now because we have definitely progressed. I
Yes.
guarantee you, we have definitely
Yeah.
progressed. So the woman behind all of this mess, the one who has foisted me upon you, is actually here in studio. And I want to spend the remainder of the program to talk about really two big things, if I could. Well, first off, I want you to tell everybody now, and I want to do it right up until 8 again. Tell everybody about the Easter egg hunt that's coming up in Allentown that you run every year.
Yeah.
Only a few hundred children, thousand children. I mean, gee whiz, it's only.
Well, this is his 11th year. It would have been his 13th year. We do it under the Allentown A's.
And if there's a link for it somewhere along the way, tell me, and George and I'll get it in there.
Allentown A's. Allentown A's League page. I haven't posted the flyer because it gets to be overwhelming with kids. The city already posted it, so it's freaking me out. So,
they're all coming now.
yeah. So it's a annual Easter egg hunt / community awareness / voter registration. The reason why it was started in this community a while back was because the committees never really did nothing. So I utilized my little league and my connects to create that. And ever since then it's been going. So this area is the largest turnaround of people. The 1st and 8th ward in the city of Allentown is vital, and Lehigh County is the fastest growing area. And of course, Allentown is the fastest growing. And outside of Allentown, there's a lot more going on in Lehigh County, growing everywhere, all over. But this particular area gets hit first when people are trying to transport. So they don't know of the services, little leagues, or anything that's going on. So this is a way of getting the parents out to bring the kids to have fun. And while the kids are having fun, the parents are aware. So every year I try to bring down different community organizations, churches, political, non-political, partisan, nonpartisan groups to take part in the Easter egg hunt. And the requirement is that you cannot come down there empty-handed. You have to have candy. Yeah, I've literally told some person, "Where's your candy? You can't come on the field without. You're not coming to come down to walk around if you don't have candy."
In fact, you mentioned to Kristen and I before that a couple of the high schools are using I shouldn't say use. When I say using it, it sounds bad, but I don't mean it in a bad way. But they're going to be donating their time toward credits as community service credits to help out with the.
Right. So I utilize, and it's not just some, and that too. So same as with the Little League, I always encourage the youth to utilize any Little League, not just ours, to do the community credits. But the Easter egg hunt is a way of doing if you have 6 credits you want to do, I will gladly fill out that form for your school. And you just help. So this is all coming together community. Basically, the kids come in, the parents have to sign in on a sheet. We ask them if they're registered to vote or not. We don't make them choose a party. I have a nonpartisan person doing it. And
the voter registration.
Yes, the voter registration. And then there's other maybe 10 or 15 tables out there with all kind of information. They get the tickets for their kids. They go over to the concession stand, they get their juice or their drinky to drink. Then at the same time, while we're waiting for the Easter egg hunt to start, we do what they call a hoppy race. So I had the little hoppy things.
Like a sack race?
No, it's actually a ball. It's
ball. Yeah. Okay.
It's 3 of them at a time go to win prizes, and then the kill time. And it's hopefully, my face painting person didn't reach back out to me, but I'm hoping that they will. But I encourage the people that have the tables there to have activities for the kids to do. Last year it was mixed. It was a mix of that too. And I kid you not, I had so much candy that the parents were leaving before they walked on the field. I have the help of Lehigh Valley security comes down and sets up for me. I'm hoping I'll have the fire truck there for the kids to play on. If not, years before I used to have the motorcycle groups down there with the fancy bikes. It's just a way of them knowing what kind of community organizations I might have. NAACP down there. I was told United Way's coming this year with a table. PA projects there. Working Families usually is there, and then you have other organizations there. The one year I had AT&T there, so it varies each year who's there. It's just a way of saying, we're here, we're a community. And then I also try to make sure there's information there, whether it be job related or whether it be community resources, information from the city for the kids to have things to do. Then, of course, I also try to have a sign up for our Little League organization with T-ball, football, cheerleading.
Mhm.
Recently, we had basketball. And then now it's been talking to the Allen High School coach to possibly try to do some sort of wrestling. So trying to grow the organization, trying to grow our kids, trying to keep our kids off the street because it's vital. Our society's getting built up around us, not just here in Allentown, but even in the suburbs. They're building, but they're not creating nothing for the kids to do. That's a problem.
Well, isn't it the difference between you're building homes, but you're not building neighborhoods.
And that's a problem.
There's a difference
and you
between
know that-
neighborhoods and
hood. Like,
well,
no, I'm gonna say it. When you take the neighbor out of neighborhood, what do you get?
hoods.
You get a
New York
hood.
hoods.
And nobody wants a hood, whether it's the high income to low income. It could be a hood in the high income too. They could be too bougie. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But you want that neighbor, because when you have a neighborhood, you have a community. And our motto with Allentown is it takes a community. So we really believe in that. And I'm happy to be part of that organization for the last 30 plus years. You know what I'm saying?
And it seems to me that this is not, and it's not to, it's certainly not to belittle, or lessen the event, but it's an old-fashioned community event.
Right. That's what it
These
is.
events were normal, regular courses of action
Right.
and course of business when we were kids.
Right. And so I just
You had
carried it on.
neighborhood block parties. The churches did these things. I remember
People are
Ingersoll Rand.
scared.
Ingersoll Rand used to pay for the big Christmas party at Phillipsburg High School when I was a kid.
And
These
this is how it
were
should be.
normal things,
Yeah.
and they're not anymore. And I think it's probably part of why it's such a big deal is because, it's because it's a really terrific event, but it's a huge thing because it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I know that I encouraged a lot of people. We even give them the formula, like, here, this is what you do. It's not hard. You ask people to help donate, so it's not all on you, but it's for the kids and it's also for the adults, whether they realize it or not. A happy adult makes happy kids. Happy kids make a happy adult. And it's important. I remember one year, like 6 years ago, when that child died in the river with autism. He wandered into the river on New Year's Eve night and they couldn't find him. And the parents were trying to get their petition signed to have some sort of bracelet attached. So I brought them to the Easter egg hunt to sign the petition signed. So once everybody finished signing the petition, I said, everybody signed the petition. They were like, yay. I said, okay, how many of you are registered voters? Everybody got quiet. I said, the reason why it's important for you to vote is because this petition's nothing without you being a registered voter.
Right. They don't pay attention.
And they will look at it like it's a non-factor. And whether people realize it or not, it does matter if you're registered to vote with your signature. Your signature makes a difference when you're a registered voter. And that's the first thing elected officials ask on a higher level, as a senator or representative. Not all of them. I'm pretty sure some of them, like, how many of them registered voters? They look at that because what happens is if they see a community come together and you register voters, they're going to take it seriously like you mean business. If you bring 300 signatures and only 50 of them are registered voters, they're going to look at you like, well, your community is not serious. And so this is another thing that communities need to understand. It is vital that you register to vote. It is vital that you vote, at least for you. It's not for yourself, for your child's welfare.
267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. Why do you think events like that don't happen anymore?
It's a lot of work. You have to have a passion. I have people helping me. I have a school board member helping me. I have some regular people that help me. And you got to have that love for kids or that love for community. I have a love for the community. It's vital.
You have described to me, and I never thought of it until you said it. And when I was forced to think about it when you said it, I agreed. And then when I stole your phrase and said it to Kristen, who is not unfamiliar with the Lehigh Valley. It's not like she just learned about it when she moved with me. She went to school here. She did the same thing. I stole your phrase, said it to her, and she stepped back, thought about it, and said, yeah, you're right. Allentown's the third largest city in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Even though it does not have the population it once did,
Mhm.
it's still about 130,000, roughly. It was, I think,
It's
at one
actually
time.
more than that now.
Is it? It was at one time almost 300,000.
Yeah.
And it went down, and now it's coming back up. But that said, you've referred to Allentown as the biggest city that thinks it's a little village,
Yeah.
that thinks it's a small little one stoplight town.
Yeah.
Why?
It's the mush of people. It's the mindset's not. They want to be a big city, but the mindset's not there yet. We have.
Is it the divided neighborhoods, or is it that there isn't like this big tall skyline, or is it it doesn't have a Manhattan skyline? Is it a Chicago or even a Philadelphia skyline?
It's-
Is it that there's the Westward and the East Side and
They still have
is
its, like New York, it has its separate areas. But I don't think the mindset's there, because when people come here from New York and New Jersey, they're escaping that. But in the process, they are the population now. And what happens is it's a misconception, it's also a little hick town or they're a little hick, and it's not. It's growing. And the majority of people now here are from the city. And they left to not have that. So those that are from here, it's affecting them because
well, if you came to Allentown from Manhattan or even Brooklyn, I would say at this point, the way that Brooklyn has grown, especially along the East River, up even Long Island City and Brooklyn, Allentown is small.
It's glory to them.
It is small.
It's
And if you came from Philadelphia, especially Center City, it is small.
It's glory.
But for around here,
That's
it's big.
From us, we don't like,
Allentown is actually an exceptionally large city when you think about just how much
area.
actual space.
It's large.
It's not tall,
But it's
spread
spread
out.
And this is where the developer is taking that beautiful greenland and making it buildings. And you have like in one block down by Bucky Boyle, you have an apartment building going there. People like, okay, are they gonna mess up the park with their dogs? Are they gonna, so it's gentrification going on. And it's nothing wrong with gentrification if it works well. It's a problem when you bring in apartments that you want to charge $2,200 for in a neighborhood that people are not making that income, and that's the problem. So you have this person pushing that narrative of money, and you don't have the income status. The problem I have with development is not having the infrastructure there. Allentown doesn't have the infrastructure. To be honest with you, the Valley doesn't have the infrastructure for it.
Yeah.
Lehigh Valley doesn't have the infrastructure. So how can you as a valley keep the infrastructure intact? How can you keep the suburb people who moved out there for the kids to have a good education, to have a nice home with a yard, and keep the infrastructure of not the development out there, making it dangerous or pollution or taking away from your greenlands? And so this is where you're having them problems at, and it's greed. And so Lehigh Valley is not meant to be that little big city. It's meant to be that getaway from the big city. And unfortunately, it's changing, and a lot of people don't like it. They don't.
It's not going to stop growing either.
No, it's not, because the populations of people. I get it.
Because people are moving west from the northern New Jersey, New York City area, and they're moving north
And they're paying
from the Philadelphia and Collar County areas because it's still cheap to them.
It's still cheaper to them, but those who are from here, the jobs are not here.
And when the rail comes, and it's coming, it might be another 10 years, but when a direct rail line comes where you can hop on a train in Allentown, Bethlehem, or Easton and go straight to Manhattan or straight to Philadelphia and never have to get off, it's going to get nuts around here.
But also too, when they do that, that's where the job opportunity will happen. They don't have they claim they do it. They do not. I don't know where they get their studies at, but it's not here.
It's the quality of job.
Yeah.
You can go to any one of the online job sites, and within 3 clicks, you could probably find 100 open jobs
Right.
within
But it's not the one that
within
maintains your
30 minutes here of where, if you're in Allentown, Bethlehem, or Easton, within 30 minutes. But they're $15,
but again,
or they're or less,
but again, the
and
infrastructure
you can't feed a family on it.
right. And then on top of it, in New York, Philly, and Jersey, they have subways and they have railways.
And buses,
And so
more established bus lines, light
It's-
rail.
and they run a lot longer. So
Mhm.
when you're here and you have to get to a job that's maybe 30 minutes away here, they're not the transportation is not there, and Uber is ridiculous to pay.
Yep.
So out there in New York, New Jersey, or Philly, you have the transportation running every 10 minutes. You got 3 choices. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so that's why they're able to maintain their rest out here. If you would need to get to a job at 5 in the morning, there might not be none running at that time. So like again, the infrastructure is not here, not just in Allentown, throughout Lehigh County. So when they bring them railways in, if
But
they
even the
don't-
jobs that the railways bring are going to be service.
right, but
It's going to be more restaurants and
and they
dry
need-
cleaners and
and they don't-
stores.
right, and they don't have that. They only have that here in the United States, and that's the problem. That's why I was so ecstatic at Biden trying to create jobs. We don't produce our own things here, and that's the problem. Lehigh County itself, Allentown was the hub of the original steel company. It was a hub of the railroad station. It was a hub of the textile company, and then next to Bethlehem, you know what I'm saying? And so what happens is when you take that all out, you do not have the infrastructure. They need to implement it back. Once they implement it back, people might be able to afford to pay where they live. Just me alone where I live at, my rent goes up $50 every 6 months because a new landlord bought my house, and unfortunately I gotta pay it. Will eventually
I mentioned before you came up here that this it took 1.2 full-time jobs into the late 60s
Mhm.
for at that time, everybody take a deep breath before we get offended. Mom, dad, 2 kids, dog, cat, 1 car, house, 2-week
what they call the nuclear family.
2-week holiday, right?
The nuclear family.
1.2 full-time jobs. So you're talking maybe 45 hours a week.
Right. You can't survive
It's
off that.
now 2.7.
Yep.
And by 2030, it could be as high as 3.2.
Mhm.
And that's 2 parents. That could be mom, dad, mom, dad, dad. I don't care what it is. It could be 2 parents,
It has to be that
Kid,
much of an
kid.
income.
kid, roof, car, holiday.
And it's
Is
not-
now could be as high as 3.2. That's
That
now you're talking 120, 130, 140 hours a week.
yeah. On top of it, it's not just that, it's auntie, uncle, grandmom,
It very well could be.
and that's how people
And
are
the kid,
surviving.
by the way, could be 25 years old, out of college with
Still home.
$100,000 of debt.
And also too, that's where a lot of kids are turning into learning a trade because they realize the college might not be the way they want. Because years ago they pushed
You know
college.
what? We were talking about that downstairs before I came up to start. Why do you think that's such an insult? I think a lot of people take that as an insult, that not every kid needs college.
No,
That's not an insult.
it's not.
What is wrong with?
I actually am teaching my grandson entrepreneurship. My son actually is paying for him to go to entrepreneurship camp for a whole week at Penn State College. And on top of it, I'm busy trying to help him he's at 15 and I'm trying to teach him you need to create your own wealth. So we have different ways of creating money right now. My youngest son is a TikTok influencer, and I was just telling him, I need you to build up if this is what you want to do, I'm trying to help him start selling stuff and create. Is this what you want to do? This is what you want to do. We have to think out of the box or form an income. He has 300,000 followers.
Why isn't he sharing my show? We'll have that discussion before you leave. Honestly.
But you have to think out of the box for making a living now. The traditional living is out the door, and that really came again.
You don't have to endorse it or
COVID.
like the show. You can endorse. You could still share it out. Just saying.
TikTok's a little bit different. It's not like Facebook or Instagram, to be honest with you.
I do the little 60-second things. I could send it to him and he could send it out. You don't have to endorse it or share or say you love the show. Just send the little announcement out, would you?
I'll
Crikey.
let you talk to him.
300,000 followers. That's only 299,960 more than I have.
Yeah, but we
Good God in heaven.
but like I said, that they see Facebook as seeing as an old people book. You know that, right?
Yeah, but I consistently.
But it does have
the
information.
folks who
listen
the
to you
folks who
here.
like to report the death of Facebook are way out over their skis. That's
know.
not even close. And by the way, even if the demographic of Facebook is 50 and over,
That's fine.
that's still half the planet.
Right.
You're
Also-
still talking of 8 billion people on the planet. You're still talking about half the planet.
Right.
4 billion of anything is still a lot. People, pennies, jelly beans, birds, blades of grass, whatever it is, 4 billion
But we got to get you into
is a lot.
We got to get you into Instagram Reels.
Well, I take the TikTok thing and send it to Instagram.
Yeah.
I've been a little more disciplined with that lately.
Okay.
Sometimes,
And
for a good long time, I was
and,
not.
And your link.
I've been more.
In your LinkedIn too.
No, I always send the announcement and the recorded version of the program on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm relatively disciplined about that. Relatively. But part of that, I will admit, is the terrestrial radio mindset. Live radio. When I'm not live, it's not happening.
Terrestrial
Except that-
radio will not survive if they don't have people buying ads.
Right. But I do notice once we came back from the 2 months that I was forced that I couldn't do the show at all, that I will see on Facebook throughout the week, this group approved, this group approved, this group approved. And
Yeah.
they go back and they approve the post
Right.
a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week,
But
2
that's
weeks, 3
good. That
weeks
means that they're
after.
looking.
They're still approving it. So
Right.
people are still seeing it long after. And that's a very non-terrestrial radio way to think of it, is that
But unfortunately,
You know,
Facebook doesn't
when-
pay.
right. I know. But when you do your show when I do the show here and I turn the mics off and I'm done, I kind of still think of it that I'm done,
Yeah.
but I'm kind of not, because it's still there.
Yeah.
It's still on Facebook, it's on YouTube, and people are still seeing it even after the fact.
See-
And I get the alerts and I see it, and it's, it's cool. It's a neat thing.
But then the same thing is the reason why you're doing radio is because you love giving out information. Whereas some people do radio for the income status of it. So you
Well,
can't.
look, if I could make it, I've told
But
you
you
1,000 times, if this was my full-time job, I'd be a hell of a lot happier
But-
than I am.
But again,
but
you're an honest
It
person.
isn't quite yet.
If you're an honest person and you're not throwing out lies to get that. And so it's going to take harder for you because you have integrity.
I could put Steve Lynch in that seat and we could throw eggs at each other.
And
he
believe it or
he could
not,
threaten-
they'll
and he
start
could-
giving you sponsors then,
and
and
he
it
could
shouldn't
wear-
be like that.
And he could wear a gun and probably threaten to kill me live on the air.
And guess what? They'll-
And knowing him very well might do such a thing, but it's not,
Not what you want. That's not
because
you want.
who does it help?
Nobody.
Who does it teach? Who
this
does it educate? How does it purvey truth and fact and science and data?
Absolutely.
How does it move the conversation forward? Even if a man like Lynch sat there and we disagreed about whether the sky was blue and grass was green,
People actually have conversations about that.
If
today
we
on
did it-
TikTok.
if we did it in a civil if we did it in a professorial civil way, I might even be able to up for it. But a guy like that who has threatened people's lives
Mhm.
would probably come in here packing even if I let him in my own house with a gun on, which is a whole different topic, but you get my point, and would probably threaten to kill me live on the air. Yeah, you're damn right people would watch that, but how sad.
That's the world that we live in now, and then this is what it is. So we just you have to keep on plugging away.
But you don't, but I think the real principle is to not give in to that then, isn't
right.
it?
That's what I meant. You gotta
Sure,
keep plugging away.
I could stand on top of the table, you know, burn papers and start calling people ridiculous names and lie through my teeth and the whole 9 yards. But I gotta look myself in the mirror.
With that. There you go.
I gotta look myself in the mirror, and it's all transitory.
Yeah.
I mean, folks might think that a guy like Hannity is like, well, what do you mean it's transitory? He's been doing this for 20 years. And that's not a short amount of time, but my faith tells me he has to answer for that.
Right.
Someday he has to answer for that.
Okay.
A faith that he supposedly carries. He doesn't. He says it because it's convenient and it's profitable, but a faith that he says he carries, he has to answer for all of this someday.
You're absolutely correct.
No less than the Pope himself has called folks like that out to say that you're not advancing anything. You claim faith and show none of it. But anyway,
I wanted to ask you, whatever happened with Saucon
nobody
Valley?
ever asked me questions.
What happened to the Saucon Valley with that landfill? Wouldn't it be garbage from New York
It's
to put down there?
It's still it's in the courts and the hearings. So the
wetlands.
The hearings for public standing started again this past Thursday. There are still parties that are seeking public standing to be able to be I don't know all my proper legal contributors, if you will, inside the courtroom to say this affects us and it's going to adversely affect us.
But I thought that was a protected wetland.
It is protected forest land.
Okay.
Both in the sales contract from the city of Bethlehem, it's also protected because it's part of the Delaware and Lehigh Historic Trail or something. It's federally protected forest land, but the landfill company owns it. The fact that it can be both things is staggering to me.
So basically,
but they do own it.
He shouldn't have never been allowed to sell it, but he did.
It should be, if it's federally protected, in my mind, the federal government should own it, but that's not how it's ever been.
Oh.
So it was owned by the city of Bethlehem. They sold it to the landfill company back in the 70s because the city of Bethlehem was broke because the steel was going out.
Right.
So they needed an influx of cash. They had this land that bordered Lower Saucon. It was empty. They didn't do anything with it. Hell with it. We can sell it, have an influx of cash. And they did. There was a rider in that contract that said it is protected land. It will always be protected land. It cannot be developed on. And then the landfill company was essentially going to ignore that part of the contract.
Right.
One of the great fun little mysteries of this whole transaction is that contract had recently been rewritten.
Okay.
How you rewrite an established contract that's done and dusted, and that protective clause,
didn't it have certain statutes on it or whatever?
That protective clause was removed.
Right.
Suddenly now there's a new form of the contract available for public record. And oh, goodness gracious, that clause isn't there anymore. Isn't that something special? Except that the old contract was still out there.
Right.
And so we all knew better. Bottom line is, landfill company wants to double in size. If it happens, and I know for the folks in Oregon and New Zealand and Australia who are listening to this are thinking, how does this affect me? I assure you it does, because if it can happen here, it can happen anywhere. Yep. In this era of complete deregulation, where the corporation's always right,
deregulating a lot of things.
If it can happen here, it can happen where you live. So I take that. In fact, there's another comment from last week's show that I want to talk about. I hope I don't forget. You're basically going to have on I-78 from Easton, from Schrin to Lower Saucon, one big continuous landfill.
of New York, mind
Think
you,
about it. Of New York
it's
and New
not-
Jersey
It's
garbage.
not our garbage.
Right.
It's not, they're bringing it from another state
So
here.
let me bring this up before I forget. Friday. Yes, Friday. I'm at work. Probably shouldn't say that. We're dead. Nothing's happening. Phone's not ringing. I got nothing to do. During my lunch, I glanced at the phone. There's a Facebook notification. Someone commented on last week's program where we were publicizing the Trans Day of Visibility that was happening. This was a nationwide event, by the way.
Mhm.
We were specifically talking about the event that was happening at the Pennsylvania State Capitol in Harrisburg. A woman who is part of one of the groups that I belong to and that the show belongs to in Oregon, put a comment on the program that we shared into one of the Oregon groups and said, "This means what to me?" Or
Yeah.
something of the effect of, "This is happening in Pennsylvania. Why do I care about this?" or whatever. And so I wrote back and I said, "You're right. This event is happening in Pennsylvania. You're right. You can't go to this event, but I intend to live stream it. But also the hate against our trans community, and it is our community. These are our family members. It's happening everywhere. It's not just happening here in Pennsylvania. This is a nationwide problem. These folks have been targeted because there are so few of them, because they're easy targets. It's a very hard thing for most people to understand that a child born as a male somehow doesn't feel that it is one. And I shouldn't even probably be saying it. I'm at a lack of words. I'm at a lack of the right words. I'm probably saying it in a terrible, terrible fashion. It's hard for the overwhelming majority of us to conceive of it. So we don't understand it. And it is human nature to fear what you don't understand. Now, do I think the woman who made the comment meant anything malicious? I do not. Genuinely, I do not. I think she was simply trying to express, why are you talking about this thing happening in Pennsylvania in a group that's based in Oregon? Because the problem is national. It's the same idea of me talking about how the minimum wage in Pennsylvania is still $7.25. Well, it's higher in Oregon, so how does that affect us? Because if it's low enough here, it keeps yours from going up.
That's true. They don't understand that. Yeah.
If the Medicaid threshold in Mississippi, and by the way, it is $11,000. If you earn any more than $11,000, you are ineligible for Medicaid
Yeah.
because you make too much money.
That's nothing.
That is a floor that other states will keep either at or around. It gives them a figure that they can stay close to. These are national issues. They are not just local or even regional. The fact that Florida is no longer a functioning democracy is not just Florida's problem. If this is not dealt with, either through voting Mr. DeSantis out of office or the federal government
Stepping in.
using the Constitution to enforce the Constitution, this will spread.
It already has.
Texas is right behind them. Iowa is right behind them. Sarah Huckabee Sanders in Arkansas just made it legal for 13-year-olds to work. Child labor. What does that sound like? Oh, wait, child labor in the South. The Confederacy is alive and well, folks. Alive and well.
Oh, let me add to this. And I was watching this TV show the other day, and after I seen the TV show, I Googled it. Did you know Georgia still has segregated proms?
Yeah, yeah, you told me about this. Yeah.
That blew my mind. I really did. And there's other. They've been fighting it, but they literally have them. I'm like surprised that this is still going on. And when you live in a state like this, and you see Moms for Liberty coming here trying to cause a separate, just so you know, Moms for Liberties are here in Lehigh County and Northampton area.
They are a nationwide epidemic.
And if
They're
you-
growing at an exponential
And if you
rate.
don't know what it is, I suggest you go Google it and see what they stand for. And they cover themselves as caring for kids. And what they're doing is they're going into the suburbs of area. And now there's an election going now.
They are largely sponsored by the private for-profit education industry.
Okay, so what they're
They're going
trying
to destroy public education to
is,
take that money and put it in private for-profit
and
hands.
seeing what they're doing is they're going and running for school board
Mhm.
in the suburbs and not doing it in the city. And so what they're trying to do is do what DeSantis is doing in Florida here. They're not, and what's bad about it, I couldn't understand, why can't we stop them? Why can't we just say, tell our Board of Education, in PA and our governor to tell them, no, it's not happening. If you don't do XYZ in our public school system, and the charter schools unfortunately feed off the public school system too. They're included in this group too. Just shut them down. But I guess they're trying to say that they're slick enough to use the school district's rules against them. But again, it only happens if they allow it. You know what I'm saying? So they're trying to take books out of school. So if those who don't know, look what DeSantis did in Florida, and the Mom for Liberty here in the Valley. They're here in Northampton County.
Mhm.
And what they're doing is having each person run for certain school board positions. And that's why it's, again, important to know what's that person's voting status. So when you go to vote this time in May, be careful who you're voting into school board. Ask questions, because they're here. And I walked in on a meeting and seen them. It's very vital that you have the right people running. And have a lot of people run for positions, and they run for positions just to say I'm running. But there's a lot of them that do run outside of everything else, that do care about their community. And it's getting messy. I am running. Just so you know, I am running
I
for.
was getting right there.
Okay.
You are running for
Lehigh County Commissioner.
Lehigh
at
County
large.
Commissioner. That's the county government. That's the legislative body of Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, one half
Yeah.
of the Lehigh Valley, the Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton area. Why?
Because I need to.
What makes you believe that you need to?
The nonsense that's going on. Infrastructure. We're not thinking about our youth. We are focusing on things that we should be focused on, money not being spent right. There should be more of a magnifying glass on how the money's spent county-wise. Our infrastructure is being threatened by development. We need to hold local developers accountable to step up and start doing what they're supposed to do. And you've seen this on the media with the media what it is. And I kudos to that senator, that new senator. He's calling them out.
Nick Miller.
Not the other one, the Republican one.
Oh, Jared Coleman.
He's actually calling them out. And I was shocked. He's calling them out like, you need to be transparent what's going on. A lot of them say, well, they can't. And he's not saying, show me the stuff. They can't show me the public stuff. And a lot of things aren't made public. And this is the stuff that needs to be questioned. We have the opportunity zones they have. And what happens is that they're liable to put so much back into community. And from my understanding, they haven't. Then you have what they, like, people understand Section 8, but it's something called Section 3, that they're supposed to put so much back into the community, jobs as well. And in a community like clubhouses or whatever you want to call, but they're not putting back what they're supposed to, and nobody's holding them accountable. It's not just here in Allentown. That could be development in Saucon Valley. That can be development in Upper Lehigh or Lower Lehigh or Macungie. it's very vital that when these people take time to have opportunities zones, that they're not that they're affecting the infrastructure, and they have to be held liable that when they're getting these breaks. And by them getting the breaks, it falls back on them communities. And that needs to be looked
Because
at.
the
in a
money
fund.
all has to come from somewhere.
Right, right,
The government is going to get funded.
right.
It's a matter of if the rich don't pay for it, if the corporations don't pay, if the businesses don't pay, there's only so many places left it can come from. It can come from fees, parking tickets,
And this is where
whatever,
and-
hotel taxes. But and the
the
only part of trickle down that works is that when the top doesn't pay,
right.
the responsibility trickles down
And that's
to the people at the bottom.
And that's the problem. And that was one of the reasons too. I hear a lot of people saying that they like live in the suburbs. They're out there and they bust their butts for them decent homes, and they're going to be affected too
Mhm.
by these opportunity zones as well.
Especially in the county taxes. If you
And
live in
right.
you live out way in the outskirts of one of the more rural sections of Lehigh, and they give away $10 million of free county taxes for an apartment building in Allentown you're never going to see.
Right.
You're making that money up.
Right. And so
You're helping to make it
it
up.
has to have a balance. It has to have a balance. And that was one of the reasons why it's the overall. It's not just about, I'm from Allentown. It's just not about Allentown. When you run for a position that represents the county, you have to represent all. You just can't look at one little sector. And sometimes when people run for positions, they look at that one little sector they're from. I'm looking at the overall.
Do you think people understand how important county government is or how much it affects them on a day-to-day basis?
I don't think they do. I don't think they do.
I think it's that way across the country
It's-
too,
it's-
by the way.
It's the pretty much how our controller is the watchdog of county tax dollars. We're the watchdogs of how money is spent and how it's put out there. And
You're
they're-
the legislative body of
Right.
the county.
right, and it's very vital that you have those who are going to ask them hard questions and it's going to fight for the people and make sure everything's being done right. I don't have a problem fighting for people. I don't have a problem asking them hard questions. If I'm there to do a job for the people, I'm not there to do kumbaya. I am a servant of the people. And that's why I'm running, because I've been doing stuff in the community for a long time, for the community and for people and for the youth. Now I'm just taking it to a step up where I can make a difference. Not saying I'm not making a difference with the little league that I'm doing, but I'm from the within, not outside looking in. I'm inside. Now I can say like, hey, no, this ain't adding up. So this is why I'm running. I see a lot of things going on. I hear a lot of conversations with people and just stepping up and doing what I got to do.
267-227-9189, about 8 minutes left of the program. How difficult is it? Let's be very, very realistic and blunt. How difficult is it for someone who looks like you to go into some of the areas of the county that you're going to have to go into and run?
I've done it. I worked in it. I worked in.
And I don't say that in a happy
No,
tone.
it's
I don't say
true.
that in a
It's
happy
true.
tone of voice. It's just the truth.
I can tell you a story that when I worked in banking, right, and I was a roving teller, and it was shorthanded, and it was I can't remember the outskirts of the town, but it was in between Philly and Allentown. It was in the country, and I had to go to this bank, and it was First Union at the time. And I walked into the bank and I knew I was out of my element. I'm like, oh boy. So I remember the old man coming in and I went to count his money and put it in his hand. He was like, put it on the table. So every morning he came in, I was there for 2 weeks. Every morning he came in. So me being me, the one morning I grabbed his hand, freaked him out, and I said to him, I'm not going to rub off. But the 2 weeks I left, he was coming in looking for me and conversating with me. We have to be, it's going to be hard, but I'm not scared to take that choice. That's my position. If I'm running for this, I have to find a way to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's no different than for you when, like Mark, using Mark Pinsley prime example, having to walk up in the hood. Now he's comfortable doing it. But at first it was uncomfortable with him. But if you're running for a public servant, this is part of the territory. I'm ready for the challenge.
You've resisted this challenge for a long time.
Yes, I did.
So why now? You've been asked
Yeah.
I mean, I've known you for a good while. I can't say a super, super long time, but a good number of years.
You recently,
You've always, I mean, probably about 3 minutes after I knew
Because
you,
I don't-
somebody asked you to run for something.
because I don't like the whole money thing and having to raise money and logistics of it and asking for money. It's a pain in the butt, but
I mean, you've been asked to run for state senate, state rep, asked to run for mayor and school board and all these different things. So why now?
because this is the one that's affecting everybody's pocket. This is the one that's affecting everybody's livelihood. This is the position that can really make a difference. And then when you run for something, you got to start from the bottom up. A lot of people just jump in and run for mayor and don't know what it is. So this is kind of like what I work with in the background already, helping in the community. So I'm just making it more official. And I'm hoping that I can get in that position and take time to educate my community. A lot of people get in there and they get a position, but they don't stay in contact with the community. I am in the community. I don't have a problem sharing that knowledge and asking them hard questions. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm not going to be liked by everybody, but at least they know that they're going to get somebody that's going to work for them. Am I scared? Yeah, I'm scared. Do I like having to go out there and having to knock doors or take a photo and put my photo out there? Because I don't like doing photos.
No, I know. I
Yeah.
know that.
So so
You don't want to do the video part of the radio show.
yeah, so it just needs to happen. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Even though you asked me to run, I guess it took being asked enough. You know what I'm saying? Getting tired enough. I hear things.
You got wore down.
Yeah. And it was this time. Am I scared? I'm not a front person. I don't like talking in public. I really don't. I'm talking to you on the radio because I'm in my comfort zone. I'm on the mic because I'm used to this. But to be in a room full of 20 people I don't know, I'm like, love. But you put me in front of kids and I'm talking about something I know, I'm fine. So this is a learning curve for me. I'm not a public speaker. I'm that grunt person. I will take time to study, learn. I will take time to ask questions. And if I will try to figure out how we're going to make this work for X, Y, and Z. We have to do the hard work behind the scenes in order for it to transpire and grow. We are growing and people are becoming homeless. There's no jobs. Creating financial.
Well, again, there's jobs. They're just not good.
They're not good jobs.
They're not life sustaining. They're not family
And
sustaining.
even our elderly. And now because we're a state that has a lot of elderly.
Second highest elderly population in the country next to Florida.
And we have to watch, and I'm gonna keep it real with you. These nursing homes in PA are horrible.
Some of them are brutally substandard.
And if my position can find a way to make them to where they need to be, then I'm gonna look on that. We have when it comes to our local police, prime example, Lehigh County, your DA is not your boss. The DA is not your boss. If you're in Whitehall, city council is your boss. If you're in Allentown, city council is your boss. Chief of police, the DA is not your boss.
Right.
And that's a misconception in Lehigh County, and that's a problem. Also to creating community policing, how are they going to do that, funding for community policing? I know that Working Families is trying to put an agenda out there for when they first responders to come have a person trained for that. They could have been done that. I actually in the past have tried to have a relationship with our constables. Our constables don't have a clear outline, but they are the original police. They are elected into office and we don't utilize them. So let's create something to utilize them till Working Families can get what they're doing. And I know it's possible because Philadelphia is doing what Working Families is trying to push now. It is happening, but we could have been this. Allentown could be the first place to do a lot of things. Education in a prison, that's very vital. They're trying to stop solitary confinement. That's important. I have mixed reviews about that because a person getting thrown in solitary confinement because he forgot paying his support payment, that's ridiculous. Do I have a problem with a mass murderer being solitary confinement? No, I don't. So,
but we're not using that common sense right now. We're just
throwing anybody on in there, and it has to be a stipulation in there. You can go to jail quicker over your dog being kept in the house or outside before, but they'll throw a person in a hole for a whole month. That's not rehab. That's not rehabilitation. The prison system was never designed to rehab. And it's time for it to be rehabbed. So yes, I'm for taking away solitary confinement, with common sense, you know what I'm saying? And then on top of it, we don't, the most people that get in there, Allentown most prisons have people in there that can't even afford $100 bill, don't have nobody. And they're sitting there for 6 or 7 months and they're a revolving door. So this is the one you can utilize and give them education. Oh, they're not there long enough. Change is not going to happen unless you try it. Years ago, I asked one of our commissioners, can we try to educate them in IT in the prisons? Oh no, that they're not there long enough. Usually a person, if they don't get bailed out for $100, they'll sit there for 6 months. Within 4 months, you can teach them basic IT, especially if this person shows that they already have a high school diploma and they're starting to create a revolving door. You can utilize the colleges for college students that need their field experience as work. You can, since it's county and government and nonprofit, and some of it's private and some of it's not, you can get these tablets given to them and you can put them in a classroom setting and teach them IT. And guess what? They can come out making $30,000 a year working from home doing IT. There's coding. So there's stuff out there. We have to think out of the box, like how are we going to rehab these prisons? How are we going to rehab these people and make them re-entry ready? The reason why they go back to prison is because you're not rehabbing them. You're treating them worse than what you treat your dog.
They don't know anything else.
Right. So there's a lot.
Some of them, it's the only way to see a doctor and get 3 squares a day.
And there you go. But okay, if this person is homeless and doesn't have the skill set, they give them a high school diploma, great. But after that, that's it. That's not enough. So now you give a person another kind of skill set, coding. The simplest coding you can give this person, and they can get a job for working from home or take the tablet to the library and do their job if they had to until they get on their feet. There's ways of creating things for not creating revolving doors of prisons. There's ways of creating a safer environment for first responders or police when they go to people that have mental breakdowns. There's ways of doing this, and there's a lot of ways they can utilize it, but they don't. So that's one of the reasons why I'm running for commissioner. Think out of the box of what we can create for this county and make it beautiful.
That is going to do it for us, because that's a really great note to end on. It's 8:02, and I think that's it. I think we've done just about all the damage that we can do for this week. The Villain's View is not going to be with you this week or next week. Sergeant Mack takes 2 weeks off to celebrate a new addition to the family and takes time to celebrate the high holy holidays and holiday time, mostly the family part. We will not be with you next week. No political block on Hot 101 next week as we celebrate Easter. Again, regardless of what faith you might be, Hindu, Sikh, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Shinto, whatever you might be, I still wish you a happy Easter because of the principles and the ideals that come from Easter: peace, fellowship, community, society, spring, renewal, rebirth. I wish all of that to you: peace and goodwill and fellowship for all of you everywhere, everyone across Facebook, everyone listening to us at hot101.net, everybody through the TCP media group, everyone who is kind enough to welcome us into your devices, your cars, your speakers, however it is that you take in the program, whether it's live or on the recording. I wish you all the best of this holy holiday season, regardless of your personal faith or perhaps even your lack of faith. I still wish you all the best that this brings you. Be with family, whether you attend house of worship or you hunt the Easter eggs or both. Just have a peaceful, safe next couple of weeks. that is it for us for this week. Again, we will not be with you next week, but we will return on April 16th with our 4th anniversary show. What we generally do for an anniversary show is just sort of what we did tonight, except that I will try to contact as many different former guests as I can possibly remember to think of and ask them to pop in for a couple minutes and hang out. And if there's 20 of us on a Zoom, or if there's 2 of us on a Zoom, then it'll be what it'll be. And that'll be it. Our 4th anniversary is in 2 weeks. And that's pretty darn good.
It is.
There are roughly 1.2 million different podcasts just based out of the United States. It doesn't even take into account the ones that are based all around the different parts of the world. The majority of them only last 6 months or less. So the fact that we have made it 4 years is pretty good to me. Now, George, his ears are probably burning because he knows I hate this show being called a podcast. I absolutely despise it. It makes me crazy. It absolutely drives me mental. We are a live video and radio program. It kind of still does in some way, shape, or form take on somewhat of a podcast sort of life because it's recorded, because you can find it in some of the traditional podcast places. So that said, I guess we're a little bit more like them than we are.
100,000 listeners worldwide.
Actually, yeah, it's about the
Maybe
number
more.
of people that we can reach in a week is now up to 250,000.
Yeah,
When we started, it was about 40,000.
yeah.
That ain't too bad. Now, compared to the 8 billion people on the planet, it's still a pretty small percentage. But 40,000 is even a smaller percentage compared to the 8 billion.
But an established podcast.
But we're getting there.
Established. It's
So
been around.
that said, we will return. A very long-winded way of saying we will be back in 2 weeks.
Oh,
Please have a pleasant Palm Sunday. What?
mention about if anybody's interested in trying to have a quality show, they can reach out to us and I'll talk
Yeah.
to you. I will give people that opportunity if you have quality talk show that you want to do, and I will talk you through it. And if you're serious, I'm here. Hot 101. Our motto is let the world be your backyard, that you be an entity within an entity. We did all the hard work for you. We've already established it connects, and all you got to do is touch a button and broadcast. That's how easy it is with us. And you're your own entity within an entity. So if you're interested in having your own podcast, and it's of substance, we can make it happen.
Believe it or not. And if this guy can do it, anybody can. Especially on Hot 101. I know it sounds crazy, but this is not the face of Hot 101.
No,
Let's
it's-
be blunt. Let's be honest.
Hot
And I can say that with you sitting here. You know that. This is not the face of Hot 101. Can we be honest? Can we just tell the truth? This is not the face of Hot 101. Let's just be blunt.
It's a very versatile station.
Is it? We definitely stretch the
we
boundaries.
have a rainbow coalition.
Oh,
going
that's
on
for
here.
sure.
And-
Anyway, George, do you have anything you want to add before we say goodnight?
No, I don't. I
Hey,
just want
George.
to say thank you to April for being on and
My pleasure.
And
Yeah.
creating this whole mess?
well, yeah, for creating this whole net. No.
Well, in that case, let me just say then, for everyone at the TCP Media Group, that is Whitney, Marquise, Taekwon, Andrew, and everyone at TCP, for everyone at hot101.net, that's DJ Lex, DJ Earl, Chino, Waterboy, everybody at Hot 101,
Purple
for
Freak, yeah.
everybody. I always forget him for some reason. I don't know why.
Her.
Shit. There you go. I do. For everybody associated with the Kennedy Effect, that's Lynn, George, for France, and of course Kristen's downstairs with Daisy and Guy, and of course for April. I wouldn't be here without her, and that is not an exaggeration. We wouldn't be here without her. To all of you who have shared the program or allowed us to be part of your world again on Sunday, I say thank you. I wish you a very, very peaceful Easter, Palm Sunday, Easter, spring holiday, religious faith season. Again, if you're a person of deep faith, a person of different faith than would normally celebrate this season, or of no faith at all, I still wish you peace, fellowship, spring, renewal, rebirth. Share your time with family. Be safe. We return on April 16th with our 4th anniversary. And until then, I say, because I can't find what I need to click on, he drug it out. Please take care of yourselves and each other. For everybody associated with the program, have a wonderful, wonderful Easter season. We'll see you in 2 weeks on April 16th, our 4th anniversary. Please take care. Good night.